Chapter 1008. Father and son hugged each other and shivered for who knew how long before Father Wang weakly asked in a soft voice, "Mom? Mom, are you still there?" There was no reply for a long time. Mom's beatings were gone, but Father Wang actually felt a sense of loss in his heart. She probably left. Old man Wang let out a long sigh. Your mom's a mysterious soul. Sometimes she suddenly appears, and other times she suddenly disappears. Who knows what she's doing? How long has this been going on, Dad? Father Wang couldn't help asking. After your mom left, on the 7th day, it's been almost 20 years. Father Wang was astonished. That's right, it's like your mom is visiting every now and then, and she'll drop by my side every now and then. Old man Wang smiled bitterly. But she won't go anywhere else, and can only wander around this room. So now do you know why I wanted to move in with your family? It wasn't just to avoid the blind date your Aunt Wang arranged. Father Wang's nose turned sour and he almost cried. Dad, don't say any more. I know all about your grievances. Being henpecked was one of the characteristics of the Wang family men. Actually, Father Wang was also quite afraid of Mother Wang in the Wang family's small villa. The two men snuggled and hugged each other like a pair of weeds crying in a storm, swaying pitifully in the wind. Mother Wang, then, should we get Ling Ling to take a look? No way, who would catch a ghost by catching their own grandmother? Then what should we do now? Since Mom wants to keep her, let her keep her, and I'm sure she's not a remnant of a wronged soul. Father Wang said, those 2 slaps just now were strong enough. They were the same as when I was naughty back then. The most painful part is the first second after the slaps, when a 5-fingered red handprint is swiftly left on your cheek. Furthermore, it won't disfigure you and will fade very quickly. The most important thing is how long the slaps last. You can feel a slight burning sensation on your cheek, which can last for up to 48 hours. Old man Wang and Mother Wang, Father Wang said with a slightly nostalgic expression, in this world, no one can slap better than our mom. At that moment, Father Wang didn't know that Wang Ling had already inherited his grandmother's skill. After learning why Grandfather Wang was afraid of the blind date, Father Wang didn't continue to question him about it that night. Most importantly, he didn't dare to. God knows if his deceased mother is watching him from a corner. What if he opens the cupboard and his mother is squatting inside like Toshio in The Grudge? How scary would that be? At night, Old Man Wang went to bed early. After a long day of traveling and Auntie Wang's harassment, Old Man Wang was overwhelmed. The night in the sea village was quiet enough, and the security here was very good. Every night, there would be village guards organized by the village committee to patrol the village. The theft rate was almost 0, and the number of crimes in the sea village over the past few decades could be counted with one hand. Mother Wang made the bed and started to take care of her skin. This was Mother Wang's new hobby after she became a housewife. She hadn't paid much attention to her skin when she was writing before. Now that she didn't have to write anymore, she could just send her story to her readers, which would save her more time to take care of her skin. Mother Wang applied the skincare products to her palms and spread them evenly before massaging her face bit by bit. What do you think we should do about our dad? What else can we do? There's an 80% chance we can forget about the blind date. With our mom coming here from time to time to keep an eye on him, he's bound to be lonely in his later years. Father Wang laughed bitterly. He absent-mindedly scrolled through the news on his phone, and at the same time rejoiced that he had already finished his latest draft before returning home. Otherwise, he really wouldn't have been able to write a single word based on this mess in his hometown. Father Wang looked at the domestic news, then absent-mindedly put his phone down. He was thinking hard about Old Man Wang's matter. The big problem was how to deal with this matter in the end. After putting an end to his father's blind date, as his son, he still had to think of a way to get Auntie Wang to give up on the idea of setting Old Man Wang up. What do you think? How about we? At that moment, Mother Wang found a banana on the table and peeled it. Father Wang was frightened by Mother Wang's action. Don't. Although Auntie Wang is indeed a little nosy, we can't kill people. Skinning someone is too cruel. Mother Wang's face was a little red. What are you thinking? You clearly know what I mean. Father Wang, you mean? Mother Wang, Ling Ling is all grown up now, he can take care of himself. What do you think, if we have another child? Father Wang shook his head. No. Absolutely not. Father Wang was really a little scared. If he had another child, the earth would almost be destroyed. If he had a second child, wouldn't the universe explode? You said before that Ling Ling's inability to control himself has a lot to do with his emotions. He's always been too nervous. If we can give him a younger brother or sister, maybe Ling Ling's temperament will become a little more cheerful in the future. Wouldn't that be great? Mother Wang smiled as she stared at Father Wang, her expression gradually turning cold. Or, you don't want to have another child with me? Do you want to have one with someone else? Father Wang raised his hand. Your Excellency wife, you're wrongly accusing me. He wanted to, but he didn't dare. Then that's fine. Mother Wang laughed. If we get pregnant, Auntie Wang's attention will most likely be diverted. For her, she just wants a few more people in our Wang family. Father Wang laughed. What are you thinking? How can it be so easy to get pregnant? Back then, when we gave birth to Ling Ling, we didn't get it in one shot. If one shot doesn't work, then a few more. What are you waiting for? Get to work? You want to do it tonight? Our dad is already asleep, the soundproofing here isn't good. Father Wang was alarmed. Since we're after excitement, we'll see it through to the end. You're so coquettish. At the same time, Wang Ling, who was approaching the altar of water in the Palace of Mirrors, suddenly felt his body tremble. A strange and indescribable feeling welled up in his heart. He looked up at the sky, as if deep in thought. What's wrong? Wang Ming looked at Wang Ling. Chapter 1009. The Five Elements Altar. If we want to stop it, we have to shut down the Five Elements Altar. Inside the Office of Strategic Deception's barrier, the two impostors had already confessed. The skin all over their bodies was torn and tattered, mainly due to the physical instability caused by watching the demonic beasts and listening to the electronic music. Their inner cores were all puppets, and after being cloned, they were like glutinous rice wrapped in the leaves of a dumpling. And now, under the powerful attack of two physical weapons, the leaves on their bodies were already in a state of collapse. Please, don't be like this. The impostors begged for mercy. After taking off their disguises, their cores were made of a crystal-like substance, which no one present had ever seen before. What are you talking about? You're nothing. Grenade-throwing senior immortal stared at the impostors in front of him with the royal scepter in hand. It should be a material from the Palace of Mirrors, and I'm guessing it's a synthetic material. Fatty Luo crouched down to touch the crystal, and the impostors rolled around on the ground in pain. To be able to create such a material, this person is really a genius, Fatty Luo sighed heartily. As a well-known magic treasure research expert, Fatty Luo himself had been officially invited by President Xi to conduct research on the head of State 001 humanoid magic treasure, so he had some understanding of human cloning and bionics. Human synthetic materials suitable for use as puppets had always been a bottleneck in scientific research in the cultivation world. The structure of the human body was very complex, and although there were artificial limbs made from lotus root and spirit earth, these materials had a shelf life. They couldn't be used for a long time. Furthermore, these artificial limbs were relatively fragile. Once a cultivator replaced them, it was the same as giving up on body techniques, and they wouldn't be able to live happily like other cultivators. What is the Five Elements Altar? Grenade-throwing senior immortal asked again. This is the magic array that maintains the stability of the Palace of Mirrors. But it's currently under our control. Once the Five Elements shift is activated, the world of the Palace of Mirrors will completely merge with the real world. The two great worlds will become one, and from then on, they will be inseparable. The impostor revealed everything. It looks like we're really in trouble this time. Grenade-throwing senior immortal gripped the royal scepter and frowned deeply. After that, they obtained a map of the Palace of Mirrors from the impostor. The 5 great altars were located in 5 different locations. Looks like in order to activate the 5 elements shift formation, I have to shut down all 5 formations at the same time. But Master should be able to do this, right? In Wang Ling's bedroom, Zhuo was also observing the situation inside the Office of Strategic Deception through Book of Sage Immortal's image. Not necessarily. Book of Sage Immortal expressed his concern. If it's just an ordinary 5 elements formation, it would naturally be no problem with Master's power alone. But now, the 5 elements formation was used to maintain an entire world. Just breaking into one formation would consume a huge amount of his lord's spiritual power. It was indeed difficult for his lord to close 5 formations at the same time when the talisman seal was not released. But if the seal is lifted and the spiritual power goes berserk, perhaps the Palace of Mirrors and Earth will suffer a devastating blow in an instant. How could this be? Zhuo didn't dare believe it. At the same time, in the Palace of Mirrors, Wang Ling also realized this problem. The Black Shadow army guarding the altars actually wasn't difficult to deal with. The real problem was that he had to close down all 5 altars at the same time. Although there were 4 people and 1 dog here, including Mother Wan, Dog 2, Wang Ming and Guo Ping, the problem was that apart from Wang Ling, the combined strength of the other 4 people wasn't enough to close 1 altar. Wang Ling had to admit that this was the first time he had been caught in a dilemma. He had thought that he could rely on his own strength to solve everything. What should he do? Should he release the power of the talisman seal? As long as he released the power of the talisman seal, he could use the Great Separation spell to go to the 5 altars and close them with his spiritual power at its peak. But the problem was, could he really control his output of spirit energy? What if it went berserk? The consequences would be unthinkable. In front of the altar of water, Wang Ling sank into a long silence. He was hesitating whether he should release the talisman seal or not. At that moment, Wang Ling sank into deep hesitation due to an unprecedented dilemma. Was he thinking too highly of himself? It turned out that in the end, there were things he couldn't do anything about. Wang Ling stared at the altar of water, which was very close at hand, and lowered his eyes slightly. A cool breeze blew past Reed Lake next to him with a rustling sound, and at that moment, it was as if the world had fallen silent. Enemy attack! Enemy attack! Up ahead, the Black Shadow army responsible for guarding the altar of water spotted Wang Ling and the others, and they surrounded them one after another. Guo Ping and Wang Ming instantly got into combat mode, and several cannon muzzles emerged from their armor as they aimed at the Black Shadow army. Why did classmate Wang suddenly stop moving? Guo Ping was puzzled by Wang Ling's sudden daze. I don't know, he likes to be sentimental every once in a while. Wang Ming also felt a headache coming on. He thought he knew Wang Ling very well, but the truth was that after spending so much time with Wang Ling, there were times when even Wang Ming felt like he was a stranger. It seemed that his little brother had never truly opened his heart to anyone before. Audacious fanatic, you dare trespass on the altar of water. At that moment, a figure emerged from the swamp up ahead. It was the guardian of the altar of water, Yin Jiuquan, who was also a member of the Black Shadow army. The original guardian had already been killed, and the Black Shadow army had forcibly occupied this place. Yin Jiuquan was very strong, and his entire body was covered in Fate Dao runes that glowed here. You lunatics have no chance of winning at all. You'll have to go all out just to deal with me. You won't be able to stop Master's plan to merge the worlds. As long as one of the 5 great altars is still operating, even if the other altars are destroyed, they can be restored in an instant. The chances of you shutting down all 5 great altars at the same time are 0. As he spoke, he was about to attack Wang Ling. But just as he was about to activate the Fate Dao runes, several powerful fluctuations of energy came from the sky. In an instant, several golden passageways were opened up. That was Lord Ma's teleportation power. Many voices came from these spatial passageways. Brother Ling, in order to stop the Black Shadow army, we must shut down all 5 great altars at the same time. All the members of the Office of Strategic Deception have come to help. Then, Gu Xuanji's voice also came. Ling Zhenren, Gu Xuanji, along with the 10 great families of the domain of the gods, have come to help Ling Zhenren. He stepped out of the spatial passageway, followed by Wang Zhen and Lu Qingyi. Ling Zhenren, I am Shen Wuyue, on Demon Saint's orders, along with the generals of the 4 territories, have come to help Ling Zhenren. As soon as Shen Wuyue said this, a pure and holy light emerged in the sky, and a winged god slowly descended from the clouds. A vast divine voice resounded through the air. Ling Zhenren, on the orders of the master of the domain of the gods, thousand-winged god, I have come to help Ling Zhenren. Tianjin. Chapter 10:10. Experts from all sides came to help. This scene could not be described as not grand. Wang Ling's heart stirred. Next to him, Wang Ming, Dog Tu, Guoping and Mother Wan in the Palace of Mirrors were startled. They couldn't help looking at the countless golden space tunnels in the sky, where time flowed by and who knew how many experts had been accommodated, as if they had the vast and mighty aura of time. The experts of the various heavens had come all the way here from their own territories, as if they had some kind of mission. Everyone's auras overlapped. There was the powerful primordial chi of ninefold stars domain of the gods, the spirit energy of Wang Ling's good friends on earth, the demon chi of the demon world, and the divine aura of the divine world. At that moment, everything gathered together. At that moment, he finally realized that he really wasn't fighting alone. Although Demon Saint didn't come personally, he was providing assistance from a distance. The will of the demon realm on Shen Wuyue was the best proof. He came with Demon Saint's will, and the antlers on his head exuded the bloodline aura of an ancient divine beast. Shen Wuyue's bloodline aura alone was enough to make the Black Shadow army stop in their tracks, not daring to take another step forward. When the 100-winged god of the god world arrived, countless pure white feathers fell from the sky along with a holy radiance. In that instant, it was as if all the haze had been dispelled. The power of a god was indeed incomparably vast. Even though they only sent out 100-winged god, it was enough to deal with the current situation. Being able to form a 100-winged god was the result of 100 winged gods fusing together. Ling Zhenren, please don't blame us. We're here to keep things in check. If His Excellency 1,000-winged god descends, I'm afraid there'll be the risk of destroying the world. 100-winged god took the initiative to explain the reason for his arrival. After all, they were here to help Wang Ling, and the god world ought to treat them with the highest courtesy. Wang Ling, Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal, the Demon World Alliance, Divine Dao Star Alliance and the Divine Realm Alliance have always been under Ling Zhenren's care. This time, Ling Zhenren shouldn't be left to bear all of this on his own. The enemy army's appearance this time was strange. With my identity as the keeper of order, I will rebuild order. Everyone, please assist Ling Zhenren and me. Now, head to the other altars and drive out the invaders from this world. In the golden spatial tunnel in the sky, Gu Xuanji spoke. His voice wasn't loud, but it seemed to reach every corner of the Palace of Mirrors. Just as he finished speaking, Yin Jiuquan, who was covered in Fate Dao runes, flew into a rage. He was ordered to guard the altar of water before the grand plan was completed. He could not allow anyone to destroy this place. The instant the Dao of Fate runes erupted with light, countless streams of decaying aura shot out of the swamp and locked onto the people in the void. This was the original power of the altar of water in the Palace of Mirrors, and it carried the scent of decay. Once the chains came into contact with the body, they would firmly entangle the person. The more strength was used, the heavier the decaying chains would become, and finally, the person would be dragged into the swamp. You overestimate yourself. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal shook his head. He still had the scepter of the king, which Zhua had drawn from the chest, in his hand. The moment he shook the scepter lightly, the countless decaying chains changed direction in the air and abruptly plunged back into the ground. The scepter of the king's 100% Neil power was indeed extremely useful. It wasn't just effective on people, it also had the same effect on other objects and even spells. Yin Jiuquan was also affected by the scepter of the king as he knelt on the ground. He was imprisoned by this powerful force and couldn't move at all. However, Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal felt like it was strenuous, as if he was arm wrestling with someone. Holding the scepter of the king, he felt like the other party could break free at any time. As expected, the the power of Fate Dao runes is still formidable. Grenade-throwing senior immortal still had lingering fears. It was a good thing that the Fate Dao runes on the two impostors weren't as strong as the ones on the altar, otherwise he wouldn't have been able to control them even with the scepter of the king. Brother Ling, I'll leave this to you. I'm going to the altar of fire now. After showing Yin Jiuquan his strength, Grenade-throwing senior immortal immediately led the people of the Office of Strategic Deception in a golden stream of light in the direction of the altar of fire. Ling Zhenren, I'll lead the demons to the altar of gold. Shen Huiyue bowed to Wang Ling and then disappeared with everyone else. Gu Xuanji, thank you, Ling Zhenren. I'm going to the altar of wood. Ling Zhenren, I'm going to the altar of earth. The 100-winged god spread its wings and then disappeared in a holy white light. Wang Ling never expected the situation to turn around in an instant at the last moment, and he would once again be the one to win without doing anything. The scepter of the king was very suppressive. Yin Jiuquan knelt on the ground with his forehead touching the ground and didn't dare move half a step. Wang Ling and the others walked over step by step, and all of them smelled a foul stench from Yin Jiuquan. It stinks, is it because of the swamp? Wang Ming frowned. As he got closer to take a look, he noticed that Yin Jiuquan's body was covered in fur. Yin Jiuquan was poked in his sore spot, and he immediately burst into tears. I haven't bathed in a long time. As an altar envoy, he had received formidable power, but he couldn't leave the altar. The biggest disadvantage of not being able to leave the altar was that he had to eat, drink, and defecate on the altar. Wang Ming and Guo Ping scanned the altar of water again, then asked, is there anyone else? Why don't I see anyone else? Everyone else is kneeling here, Yin Jiuquan answered honestly. And some people fainted because they couldn't stand the stench on me. Wang Ling, Dog 2, Wang Ming and Guo Ping, if even the envoy of the altar of water was in this state, it was likely that the envoys of the other altars weren't any better. Then, Wang Ling found the eye of the altar of water's array. There were obvious signs that the array here had been tampered with. Wang Ling raised his hand and used the Great Undo spell to restore the array to its original state. The other altars had definitely been tampered with as well, but all the people who had been sent out were top-notch experts, so Wang Ling didn't think they would be stumped by this problem. Is everything over just like that? Wang Ling was still a little doubtful. Everything seemed to be going too smoothly. The 5 great altars had been shut down, and the Black Shadow Army's plan had failed. Now came the biggest problem. The mastermind behind all this had actually never shown up from beginning to end. Wang Ling felt that this storm was most likely a test by the person behind the scenes. This mastermind was testing the overall combat strength of everyone on their side. Chapter 10-11. Many experts set out at the same time, and the 5 distorted altars in the Palace of Mirrors were quickly brought under control. Only the altar of fire was left. The emissary of the altar of fire looked like he was still putting up a stubborn resistance, but the truth was that Grenade-throwing senior immortal and the others had already repaired the distortions on the altar. Now, the emissary of the altar of fire was just an arrow at the end of its flight and wasn't a threat at all. What everyone had to do next was to execute the 5 altar guardians who had been replaced at the same time, and then have Divine Tao resurrect the guardians who had been killed by the Black Shadow Army and replace them. The 5 altars would regain their strength and the Palace of Mirrors would regain its peace. Senior Immortal, aren't we going to do it? Xilian Jinren asked. She was worried that something might happen if they delayed. Let's wait a little longer. Grenade-throwing senior immortal gazed at the sky. At that moment, it wasn't just him, everyone was waiting. One person's return. Fang Xing could sense that something was wrong outside. Bai Yuquan had already left the place where Fang Xing was being held captive with a group of Black Shadow soldiers. Although his strength had been suppressed, Fang Xing, who had cultivated the snake form since he was a child, was more sensitive to danger than an ordinary person. Bai Yuquan had left in a hurry, as if something big had happened outside. And most importantly, Fang Xing had already sensed Wang Ling's aura. He knew that Wang Ling would definitely come. Is he your friend? Immortal Shipai asked behind Fang Xing. He's my classmate. Fang Xing nodded solemnly. After some careful thought, he added, my best classmate. After a battle of words, father and son finally recognized each other. Fang Xing told Immortal Shipai about his life after he was born, and for a moment, Immortal Shipai was filled with emotion. A lot of thoughts came back to him. Although Bai Yuquan had tampered with Immortal Shipai's memories, he had never expected the power of his bloodline to reconstruct these distorted and erroneous memories. Fang Xing's snake scales and intrinsic spirit field were all inherited from Immortal Shipai, and bore his power to begin with. It was this power that had helped Immortal Shipai correct his erratic thoughts. I'm relieved to see that you're doing well. True Immortal Shipai smiled. It was the exact same smile that Fang Xing usually wore at school. As soon as he finished speaking, Shen Wui's antlers turned into darts and split the door into two. The moment the door was smashed open, Fang Xing saw a young man with deer antlers whose head was bleeding profusely, but one of his antlers had been thrown like a dart. Classmate Fang Xing, I am Shen Wuyue, the holy envoy of the demon world. On Ling Jinren's orders, I have come to rescue classmate Fang. Shen Wuyue bowed with his hands folded in front. He then crushed the antler he had plucked out into powder, mixed it with the deer blood that had spurted out of his head, and rolled it into a pill which he handed to Fang Xing. Classmate Fang, please eat this. This great deer pill can completely activate your blocked meridians and remove the seal on your spirit energy. Thank you. Fang Xing knew Shen Wuyue. Although Fang Xing hadn't been directly involved in what had happened in the demon world, he had learned a lot about Dog 2's trip to the demon world through the messages in the group chat. The great deer pill was an expensive medicine made from Shen Wuyue's own divine deer blood. Although the process of making it seemed a little violent, it was indeed effective. After Fang Xing swallowed it and circulated it through his body, the effects were immediately apparent. His blocked meridians were now completely unblocked. Classmate Fang, I'll wait for you at the door. Seeing that the great deer pill had taken effect, Shen Wuyue heaved a slight sigh of relief. He patted Fang Xing on the shoulder, then took the initiative to go to the door and leave the rest of the time to the father and son. Dad. Fang Xing stared at True Immortal Shipai with a moved expression in his eyes. True Immortal Shipai hadn't left his position, and he had already made up his mind. Go, do what you have to do. True Immortal Shipai looked at Fang Xing. I don't belong to that world, son. There was a long period of time when I was lost. What on earth is cultivation? And it seems that you're about to find the answer before I do. A true cultivator isn't limited to just strength. A true cultivator has a tenacious heart at all times. I think I'm being a little too serious. True Immortal Shipai smiled. Choose the path you think is right, son. You have a group of very good friends. You will always be my pride. Fang Xing hesitated. Will I really find the answer one day? Yes, son. True Immortal Shipai, sooner or later, you will find it. The answer to cultivation, and my answer. Shen Wuyue waited at the door for only a few minutes before Fang Xing came out. Won't you say more? Shen Wuyue asked. That's enough. Fang Xing nodded. He did his best to push back the mist in his eyes. Release it, and you might feel better, Shen Wuyue comforted him as he led the way alone. At that moment, Fang Xing couldn't hold back his tears anymore. It was as if all the mixed feelings and longing in his heart for so many years had turned into a catalyst at that moment, and his tears couldn't stop falling. In the end, he's still a child. Up ahead, Shen Wuyue sighed with relief in his heart. After another 5 minutes or so, Shen Wuyue led Fang Xing to the sky above the altar of fire. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal thanked Shen Wuyue repeatedly. Thank you, Brother Shen. Senior Immortal, you don't have to be so polite, I just did what I could. Shen Wuyue bowed. As Senior Immortal expected, President Bai's son, Bai Yuquan, who kidnapped student Fang, has already retreated. They seem to have anticipated this and have taken precautions. When they retreated, there wasn't even the slightest trace of them. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal, not only that, we also split up to investigate, and found that the munitions factories in the Palace of Mirrors have also self-destructed. We can only take our time to think about what to do next. Right now, the most important thing is to restore order in the Palace of Mirrors. Shen Wuyue nodded. Brother Shen is right. Now, it's time for the joint execution. Grenade-throwing senior immortal held the royal scepter and looked first at the guardian envoy of the altar of fire in front of him. Under the powerful restriction of the royal scepter, the guardian envoy of the altar of fire was already kowtowing and kneeling without the slightest strength to resist at all. I've made you suffer, classmate Fang Xing. Grenade-throwing senior immortal then went to Fang Xing's side with a broad smile on his face. Welcome home, classmate Fang Xing. Tianjin. Chapter 10-12. After Fang Xing left, the confinement room fell silent once more. Gazing in the direction in which Fang Xing had left, Immortal Shipai suddenly felt a little melancholic. He had never thought that after his resurrection, he would actually be able to see the child he had left behind. Blade Master, you can come out now. Immortal Shipai took a deep breath, then turned his gaze to the side. In the confinement room, an old man in white kung fu attire with a red belt materialized out of thin air. Boundless Sword Dao's boundless glass sword Qi indeed lives up to its reputation. Immortal Shipai smiled at the old man. This was a protective sword Qi that used sword Qi to change the structure of the surrounding space. Using the principle of 3 primary colors of sword Qi, it could conceal the user like a chameleon, and when the boundless glass sword Qi was activated, it could also completely cover up the user's scent. Such an exquisite and superb sword technique required an extremely high comprehension of Sword Dao, and only a Grand Blade Master could do it. But Immortal Shipai was a little surprised that General Yi had appeared here. It looks like you've already made up your mind. My sacrifice was just part of the plan to begin with. True Immortal Shipai shook his head calmly and said, catching shadow is the key to saving everything. All these years, although I've been nominally retired, I've been looking everywhere for clues on shadow, but I've come up empty-handed. Even that youngster who's very close to Fang Xing doesn't qualify for a group photo. But he's very strong. Based on the theory that the strong attract one another, we might ultimately be able to find a breakthrough from him. We don't have much time left, old E. Only by dealing with our opponent this time at the root can the world return to peace. General E nodded. It's just that you've wronged me. There's nothing to be wronged about. Seeing that he's doing well, I already have nothing to worry about. Immortal Shipai sighed. Also, how is my Shifu? That lovesick Gua Pai is still squatting in his cell, but he's very well behaved. It's also thanks to your disguise as his disciple back then that you were able to conceal your identity very well. He's not a bad person, said Immortal Shipai. I know. General E nodded. But he's an idiot. As the two of them conversed, true Immortal Shipai's body began to emit a burst of light. Then, starting from his lower body, his body gradually turned into a substance that resembled light particles. It looks like the world of the Palace of Mirrors is about to return to peace. It's also time for me to disappear. True Immortal Shipai glanced at his body, which was gradually disappearing. He did not feel any pain during this process. He had merely returned to the state of a dead soul. He had already died once, so he naturally didn't have any extra feelings. The secret of shadow was a confidential matter that true Immortal Shipai had investigated in the Special Intelligence Department of the Magnificent Immortal Sect. It was closely related to the survival of the cultivation world. Is there anything else you want to say? General E asked the moment before Immortal Shipai disappeared. Tell him I love him, 3,000 times. All right. September 12th, the 30th day of the summer vacation. The Black Shadow Army's plot was completely destroyed by the combined resistance of experts from various sections. The world of the Palace of Mirrors returned to tranquility, and order was restored in the two worlds. The cultivators who had been killed by the Black Shadow Army in the real world were resurrected under the powerful power of Divine Tao, and their memories of what had happened in the Palace of Mirrors were sealed. However, news of the attack had already spread in the real world, and the International Cultivators Association naturally wouldn't sit idly by. However, the Black Shadow Army had retreated too quickly, and so far, no one had been able to find the mastermind behind the scenes. Thus, they could only come up with a new story to stabilize the unity and stability of the cultivation world. Thus, at noon that day, Guoping appeared at the press conference together with grenade-throwing senior immortal, who had been sent out on a peacekeeping mission, in his capacity as the ambassador for establishing diplomatic relations on the outer planets. At noon that day, Wang Ling sat in front of the TV with Dog 2 in his arms as he quietly watched the two people show off on TV. The first person to appear was grenade-throwing senior immortal. The Office of Strategic Deception had been established not long ago, but it was already very famous. After grenade-throwing senior immortal became a true venerated, his international reputation had taken a big step forward, and his title of Great Death-Courting Senior in the cultivation world had already spread far and wide. In addition, Huaxiao Alliance regarded the Office of Strategic Deception highly, so grenade-throwing senior immortal was now a big shot with a resounding reputation, and was no longer that small cultivation forum master. Grenade-throwing senior immortal and Guoping appeared at the press conference, and when the camera turned to grenade-throwing senior immortal. When the camera turned to grenade-throwing senior immortal, a line of words immediately appeared below him: grenade-throwing senior immortal, Chief of the General Office of Strategic Deception, a sky-level first-class sect in Huaxiao Nation. Next was the segment for reporters to ask questions. A tall female reporter raised her hand. Grenade-throwing senior immortal, the Office of Strategic Deception's peacekeeping mission this time was a great success. May I ask if the Office of Strategic Deception's current strength has already reached the peak of the cultivation world? The first question was very sharp. But grenade-throwing senior immortal was already prepared to answer. What had been the greatest virtue of Huaxiao cultivators since ancient times? Naturally, it was modesty. This was Huaxiao Alliance's press conference, and grenade-throwing senior immortal had already thought about what he would say. Grenade-throwing senior immortal sighed slowly. The main reason our Office of Strategic Deception has been able to develop to this day is that our sect's foundation is relatively stable. Our sect's heavenly Dao broccoli has already been exported to cultivation countries all over the world. Currently, our sect's heavenly Dao broccoli is scheduled to be exported 500 years later. It's also because of this agricultural economy that our sect has a place in the world. But the truth is that we're actually still very weak. Everyone? Grenade-throwing senior immortal, our sect's team leaders don't do proper work every day. I'm deeply worried about this. Some team leaders only know how to play games, some are 2,000 years old and still unmarried, and are so addicted to homebuddy games that they can't extricate themselves from them. We're a newly established sect, and we often don't even have sect discipline in place. How can we talk about being at the peak of the cultivation world? This is all just flattery. Everyone, the female reporter, then, if we're not at the peak, why was the Office of Strategic Deception sent on a peacekeeping mission? Grenade-throwing senior immortal, maybe we were chosen in the drawing of lots, so we went. Everything was arranged by the higher-ups. We could only follow instructions. But looking at the result, our luck wasn't bad, and we drove away those invading alien creatures. The female reporter didn't let it go, and directly turned the question to Guoping. Ambassador Gua, what kind of alien creature launched an attack at this critical juncture when we are establishing diplomatic relations with Divine Dao Star? It's a distant alien creature, and we're still investigating its exact origin. Guoping had already expected this question, so he answered directly, at this critical juncture when we are establishing diplomatic relations with other planets, we absolutely won't allow anything that hinders the peaceful development of the universe. At the same time, we also advise those alien creatures who intend to attack Earth to stop as soon as they see this news. We welcome all alien creatures to peacefully establish diplomatic relations with Earth through negotiation. In short, there's only one sentence: talk, the door is open. Fight, we'll take them on to the end. Our Earth cultivators have experienced tens of thousands of years of history, what haven't we seen? Everyone, Wang Ling. Chapter 1013. It was September 13th, the 31st day of the summer break. Today was destined to be an unusual day. Father and Mother Wang had agreed to leave in a hurry since the morning. Wang Ling thought that these two people had probably quietly gone to the hospital for a pregnancy test. Actually, Wang Ling had already known about this since he had felt a strange telepathy back then, but the problem was that father and mother Wang still hadn't prepared how to tell him about it. After some consideration, the couple tacitly decided to keep the pregnancy a secret for the time being. Since they weren't willing to say anything, Wang Ling naturally couldn't force them. This wasn't in Wang Ling's character. In fact, Wang Ling felt that having a younger brother or sister might not be a bad thing. But the main problem was that father and mother Wang had too many concerns. Their love for imagination was an occupational disease to begin with. Father and mother Wang's original intention was to make the family atmosphere better, but in the end, they also cared about Wang Ling's feelings. Would an older child feel a sense of loss when he suddenly found out that he had a younger brother or sister? Would he feel that his parents might no longer love him? If he didn't love them evenly in the future, all kinds of problems might arise. Thus, father and mother Wang started to feel conflicted. They planned to find a suitable opportunity to tell Wang Ling about it. In the Sea Village, the news of mother Wang's pregnancy excited all the villagers. Apart from old man Wang, the happiest person was none other than Aunt Wang, and for the time being, old man Wang was finally able to escape the clutches of Aunt Wang's demonic matchmaking arrangements. In the last 2 days, everyone in the village had raised funds to prepare supplements for mother Wang, and Aunt Wang had personally arranged for them to be delivered. As a matter of fact, not long after father and mother Wang left, a large truck drove directly from the Sea Village to the Wang family's small villa. Wang Ling was alarmed by the sound of the engine. When he opened the door, he saw Aunt Wang instructing people to unload the goods from the truck. That's a box of calming pills. They're fragile, so be careful when you unload them. If one is broken, all your efforts today will be in vain. These are supplements I specially ordered for pregnant women. And that box of inspiration pills, be careful. Wang Ling. Fine, father and mother Wang had planned to keep it a secret from him, but now, Aunt Wang had spilled the beans. Pretending that he hadn't heard anything, Wang Ling walked out of the house in a pair of flip-flops. It was already very hot in Shanghai City in September. Wang Ling was wearing a white short-sleeved shirt and blue beach shorts, which looked very refreshing. The blue and white combination didn't absorb heat easily. Furthermore, Wang Ling had enchanted these two clothes so that they were the opposite of hot and cold. In hot weather, they would naturally give off a cool feeling, as if they were carrying an air conditioner. Hey, it's Wang Ling. I haven't seen you for a long time, and you've grown taller. And he became even more handsome. This is great. Seeing that Wang Ling had come to open the door, Auntie Wang grabbed his snow-white arm firmly and rubbed against it. Wang Ling, little fresh meat like Wang Ling was deeply loved by aunties to begin with. Furthermore, he was also a member of the Sea Village. Even though he had moved into the city, the bloodline of the Wang clan still existed. This was absolutely undeniable. In addition, Wang Ling's body was now ice cold, and people really couldn't help but want to get close to him to relieve the heat. When a few little brothers who were unloading goods passed by and moved the goods into the Wang family's small villa, they deliberately passed by Wang Ling to feel the cool breeze. Everything has been unloaded, Auntie. After the few men unloaded the goods, Auntie Wang carefully counted the goods according to the list. Then, she took out a small brocade pouch and stored all the goods into it. Auntie Wang gave the silk pouch to Wang Ling. Little Wang Ling, I'm leaving these things for your mother. When she comes back, please give them to her for me. Wang Ling nodded. Also, please give this to your dad and tell him to hang it in his study. Keep up the good work. Saying this, a spirit light flashed in Auntie Wang's hand, and a silk banner appeared in her palm. On the silk banner was written, Brave Glory, Recreate Miracles. Wang Ling, Auntie Wang had come quickly and left even faster. She knew that Mother Wang had gone for a pregnancy test today, so she wasn't in the mood to wait around at the Wang family's small villa. After delivering the tonics, she directly drove the truck to the hospital where Mother Wang had gone for the test. Elsewhere, at the entrance to the surveillance room of Shanghai Cultivation Obstetrics and Gynecology Specialist Hospital, Father and Mother Wang were startled to see Auntie Wang. Auntie Wang, you. asked Father Wang. It's nothing, I delivered a truck of tonics to your house earlier, so I dropped by to check on you. Nothing happened, right? Father Wang was worried. No, that child Wang Ling is very dense. He won't notice, Auntie Wang assured him. She then looked at Mother Wang and asked, what's the situation? We're still waiting for the pregnancy test report, but my lover and I went for a checkup not long ago, and there's nothing wrong with us. We're also very healthy. Father Wang smiled. Although he and Mother Wang were only at the body refinement stage, they could still be considered low-level cultivators. The advantage that cultivators had over ordinary people in childbearing was their age. There were cultivators with high realms who could give birth even when they were thousands of years old. Although Mother Wang was already in her 40s, she could still be considered a young pregnant woman in the cultivation world, and giving birth wouldn't be a problem at all. But a pregnancy test still had to be done. A cultivator's pregnancy test checked the body's spirit energy level after pregnancy. A pregnant woman's spirit energy level would be higher than that of an ordinary person's, so a pregnant female cultivator had to be careful not to let her spirit energy get out of balance, otherwise there would be a risk of her fetus exploding. At the same time, female cultivators charged different fees for childbearing depending on their realms. Childbearing below the nascent soul stage was covered by medical insurance, while those at and above the nascent soul stage would have to pay a realm increment fee. The nascent soul stage itself was a hurdle, whether it was a natural birth or a cesarean section, both required skill. In gynecology and gynecology hospitals, there were often cases of nascent soul female cultivators giving birth at home in order to save money and not go to the hospital. In the end, they gave birth to a nascent soul and left the child in the belly. Then, they would rush to the hospital for a remedial surgery. But Mother Wang's situation wasn't too bad. A surgery at the body refinement stage wouldn't be too complicated. As long as her spirit energy level was normal during the pregnancy test, there wouldn't be any worries. After a few minutes or so, a nurse came out of the examination room window with a file. Mr. Wang, your wife's report is out. Her spirit energy level is normal, there's nothing wrong with her. Thank you. Father Wang was very happy. Ha ha ha. I already said that the girls that our sea village has taken a liking to are all sturdy. Aunt Wang was also happy. She looked at Father and Mother Wang and said, you too, you should go back tonight and think about how you should tell Wang Ling about this. You'll have to say it sooner or later, so I think it's better to say it earlier. Father Wang nodded solemnly. But, how should we bring it up? Aunt Wang suggested, hint first, then make it clear. Or ask little Wang Ling whether he likes a younger brother or younger sister. And so, this was what Mother Wang prepared for dinner that night. The first dish was stewed chicken with mushrooms, and there really were 2 little chickens inside. The second dish was braised chili crab with 1 male and 1 female crab. Chapter 10:14. In just one meal, Wang Ling had already tasted all kinds of hints from Father and Mother Wang. In fact, Wang Ling felt that Father and Mother Wang were overthinking things, but this also warmed his heart, which proved that they respected his opinion. As a member of the family, Wang Ling could feel the comfort of being respected. Ling. I mean, if one day you're dad and I want to have another child, do you want a younger brother or sister? Mother Wang put down her bowl and chopsticks and sat down in front of Wang Ling with a big smile on her face. Wang Ling looked at Mother Wang's belly and said directly, which was very rare. Younger sister. Father and Mother Wang were overjoyed. At least they now knew that Wang Ling didn't mind having a younger brother or sister. What they had been most worried about was that Wang Ling would mind, but now it seemed that this worry could be completely dispelled. Thus, Mother Wang ate very happily that night. One person eating, 2 people nourishing, she now needed all kinds of nutrients. After dinner, Mother Wang started to call various relatives to announce the good news that she was about to have a second child. In the bedroom, Wang Ling inadvertently overheard Mother Wang talking to a few people, and could tell that she was really excited. The first phone call. Mother Wang, second aunt, let me tell you something, I'm going to have a second child. Second aunt, a second child? Is this for real? Can you do it at your age? Mother Wang, I went to the hospital for a checkup, and there's nothing wrong with my body. Second aunt, what about Wang Ling? Does Wang Ling mind? Mother Wang, Ling Ling doesn't mind, he even said he wants a younger sister. Second aunt, that's good, you have to ask older children what they think. Children nowadays have a lot of ideas, so you have to be careful. Wang Ling is a good child, unlike some children who especially mind, and feel that their love will be divided up. Mother Wang rubbed her belly as she called. That's right, Wang Ling will definitely be very happy. The second phone call. Mother Wang, great aunt, let me tell you something, I'm going to have a second child. And I'm already pregnant. Great aunt, so suddenly? What about Wang Ling? Mother Wang, look at what you're saying, aunt, both children should be taken care of equally. Our family doesn't value boys over girls. It's the same for a son or a daughter. But Ling Ling said himself that he wants a younger sister. Great aunt, sister? Huh, that's good too. Daughters are like parents' little cotton-padded jackets. Didn't you always say that Wang Ling was like a gold coin bulldozer when he was born? Mother Wang, after making several phone calls, Mother Wang finally breathed a sigh of relief at the head of the bed. Did you succeed? Asked Mother Wang. It should be a success, he definitely heard it. Father Wang glanced at Wang Ling's bedroom from his bed. They had been calling one after another to make it clear that they were going to have a second child. Because they were too embarrassed to say it directly at the dinner table, the couple felt that this indirect method was pretty good. As long as they spoke a little louder, given Wang Ling's hearing, it would only be a matter of seconds before it reached his ears. But to make sure that Wang Ling had heard it, Father Wang thought it would be better to ask. Thus, he put down the newspaper and looked in the direction of Wang Ling's room. Ling Ling, if you can hear everything, just squeak. Wang Ling, Ji. Father and Mother Wang, it was September 14th, the 32nd day of the summer break. On this day, Wang Ling went shopping with Mother Wang at the cultivation department store, which was a rare occurrence. Songhai City's summer had already entered a period of sustained high temperatures. Wang Ling had previously asked Mother Wang if she wanted enchanted clothes to lower her body temperature, but she had politely declined. While the clothes were cool, they could also freeze the baby in her tummy. So after weighing the pros and cons, Wang Ling would follow Mother Wang shopping from now on so that she wouldn't get too hot. He had his own portable air conditioner, so as long as he was by Mother Wang's side, he would be able to cool off the heat. Of course, after Wang Ling started school, Dog 2 would be in charge of guarding him. The yellow tights on Dog 2 also had the ability to lower the temperature. Pets weren't usually allowed in shopping malls, but Dog 2 was different. It was a high-level spirit beast certified by the Pet Trainers Association and had spiritual intelligence. It wouldn't cause people any trouble, so it was also given special treatment. When Wang Ling followed Mother Wang past the food counter, she carefully selected the new sauces for cooking. These were all natural and non-additive condiments, which were more suitable for pregnant women. For example, the soy sauce in Mother Wang's hand was a natural extract extracted from a kind of spirit beast. It was very nutritious, and while it was expensive, it was an exceptional treatment in exceptional times. After eating this type of soy sauce, the baby won't have too dark complexion. Mother Wang picked out a few bottles and put them in the shopping cart. She then said to Wang Ling, when you were born, there wasn't this type of soy sauce. We only ate normal soy sauce, which directly led to your extremely dark complexion when you were born. At that time, your dad was a little devastated as he held you. Wang Ling followed Mother Wang past the fast food section, which sold instant noodles, frozen dumplings, and the like. Here, Wang Ling also saw another pair of enemies, Wang Zhen and Lu Qingyi. The two of them were arguing over which flavor of instant noodles to buy. Braised beef. Wang Zhen wasn't convinced. Pickled beef. Lu Qingyi argued. Pickled beef is good. It's hard to digest to begin with. It's easy to get fat if you eat too much. Think about it, pickled beef. It's sour. It can speed up digestion. You won't get fat after eating it. Wang Zhen was speechless for a moment. On the side, Wang Ling was startled when he heard this. What kind of weird power was this? The law of conservation of energy had made him faint in the bathroom. These two seem to be your friends? Mother Wang looked at the pair of enemies from afar. Both Wang Zhen and Lu Qingyi had been guests at the Wang family's house before, so Mother Wang recognized them. Hello, senior. As they argued, they saw Mother Wang and Wang Ling come over with a shopping cart, and they both stood at attention in deep veneration. You young people need nutrition, how can you eat instant noodles? Mother Wang sighed. Wang Ling. What freaking young people. These two people from the domain of the gods had cultivated for more than 1,000 years. If they were placed in a pyramid and wrapped in cloth, they would be mummies for 3,000 years. Lu Qingyi and Wang Zhen sighed. They didn't want to eat instant noodles, but they really didn't have enough funds for their trip down to the world below. Actually, Wang Ling had a rough idea of what was going on. The main reason was that they had come to Earth without permission, which had broken the rules of the domain of the gods, and were still under Gu Xuanji's probation period. During this period, they had to live like normal Earthlings with part of their magic power sealed for 2 years before they could return to the domain of the gods. During this period, food and lodging became a problem for Wang Zhen and Lu Qingyi. Both of them were children of rich families in the domain of the gods, and they really weren't used to life in the mortal world. When Lu Qingyi had gone out to look for a job previously, she had only been given the simple task of handing out leaflets. Because of her hot temper, she had gotten into a conflict with a passerby, who had ended up in the hospital. Although Gu Xuanji had intervened in the end and compensated for the medical expenses, it was still Lu Qingyi who had to pay for them. In other words, Wang Zhen and Lu Qingyi were now going through thick and thin together. Furthermore, Lu Qingyi was heavily in debt and owed Gu Xuanji a huge sum of money. Most importantly, apart from when Gu Xuanji needed them to go on urgent missions, their magic power was limited to the foundation establishment stage. Even in the current era of national cultivation, there was a limit to what a foundation establishment cultivator could do. At most, they could go out to deliver takeout and express deliveries, or move bricks on construction sites. In short, Wang Zhen and Lu Qingyi were now in the same boat. I remember that you're Ling Ling's new classmates, right? You're also going to attend classes at number 60 high after the summer break? Mother Wang stared at them and smiled. I'm a little hungry after walking for a while. How about you come and eat something with me? It's my treat. Wang Zhen and Lu Qingyi's eyes lit up as they held instant noodles in their hands. In that moment, it was as if they had seen an angel. Chapter 10-15. The cultivation department store's basement was a gourmet street. Mother Wang chose a chain restaurant that looked clean and tidy and ordered a table full of dishes. It wasn't that Mother Wang wanted to show off her wealth or anything, but that she was really hungry. Mother Wang had already experienced this when she was pregnant with Wang Ling. As long as Mother Wang was pregnant, she could eat a lot. Furthermore, she especially wanted to eat spicy food. Don't stand on ceremony. Mother Wang smiled at Wang Zhen and Lu Qingyi, then started to eat. Wang Ling ordered a glass of lemonade and watched on the side as Wang Zhen and Lu Qingyi dug into their food like hungry wolves. Because of the restrictions on their magic power, it was easier for them to feel hungry, which was why they had been starving ever since they had returned from the Palace of Mirrors the day before yesterday. Through Wang Zhen and Lu Qingyi, Wang Ling realized that Gu Xuanji was truly impartial and incorruptible. As the keeper of cosmic order, he could be so ruthless to his fellow countrymen. This state of affairs for 2 years was simply a form of punishment. Even mortals weren't this miserable when cultivating to immortality. But after the summer break, Wang Ling remembered that number 60 High's initial expansion should have already been completed. The first wave of school construction investment from Huaguo Water Curtain Group had already been approved, and a student dormitory should be built behind number 60 High's sports field. This was the standard for a key city school. Since number 60 High wanted to upgrade to a key city school, it had to have dormitories. That was to say, after the summer break, Wang Zhen and Lu Qingyi's lives would be a little more relaxed, and they wouldn't have to worry about renting a house. It was Gu Xuanji who had arranged for their identities on Earth, and he had gotten them to study at number 60 high. Having a cheap place to shelter them from the wind and rain was better than renting a house in the vast city. It was really hard to believe that two rich kids from the domain of the gods would live like this after coming to Earth. Was this the cultivation world's metamorphosis? Wang Ling was instantly a little happy. Have you run into any difficulties? Like most middle-aged women, Mother Wang liked to chat with others during meals. The most important thing was that Wang Ling realized that when she chatted with others, she always got to the point. This had a lot to do with Mother Wang's life experience and writing experience. Before Mother Wang stopped writing, she had read too many stories. Hearing Mother Wang's words, Wang Zhen and Lu Qingyi both looked melancholy. He could only say that he was indeed worthy of being the great senior in the villa. As expected, Ling Zhenren's birth mother was amazing. Although Wang Zhen and Lu Qingyi's cultivation was high, they were still greenhorns compared to Mother Wang in terms of experience. It was useless to have profound cultivation, they still had too little time to struggle in society. Sometimes, when they cultivated in seclusion, hundreds of years would be used up, they couldn't even keep up with the information. Children of wealthy families in the realm of the gods like them had all grown up surrounded by their families. They advocated money in social interactions, and once their source of wealth was cut off, they would be muggles. Therefore, Gu Xuanji's side had put in a lot of effort to send them to Earth to gain experience. Gu Xuanji's clan was known as an empire in the domain of the gods, but Gu Xuanji had an additional identity as a keeper of order compared to Wang Zhen and Lu Qingyi. He maintained order everywhere in the universe, so his personality was much more mature than Wang Zhen and Lu Qingyi's. We're looking for a job, but no one wants us. Wang Zhen let out a pained cry. Foundation establishment cultivators could consider using flying swords to deliver takeout or express delivery. But the problem was that the Earth ID cards that Gu Xuanji had arranged for them were still in high school. An underage ID card. Just like Wang Ling, they were only 16 years old. No unit dared to hire them, and they didn't know where to look for work. It would have been fine if they weren't in high school. But the problem was that they were already registered high school students in the general administration of 100 schools. Even a regular small enterprise wouldn't hire them as long as they searched their information online. What about Little Lei? Mother Wang thought of grenade-throwing senior immortal. Little Lei should be able to help you. But he doesn't pay us, we want to improve our lives. As a little princess, Lu Qingyi felt wronged from the bottom of her heart. She never thought that she and Wang Zhen would end up in this situation one day. Not only was this person her nominal fiancé in the domain of the gods, he was also the person she hated the most. But it just so happened that she and this nuisance had come to the world below because of a misunderstanding. In the end, this guy Gu Xuanji had found them and executed them on the spot. There were still 2 years before they could return to the domain of the gods. Logically speaking, 2 years shouldn't be too long for cultivators who habitually cultivated in seclusion, but Lu Qingyi and Wang Zhen now felt like one day was like a year. Their seclusion room in the world above had Wi-Fi, air conditioning, and they didn't have to worry about food or clothing, but now, even housing in the world below was a problem. Wang Ling felt that if they had to blame someone, it was definitely Wang Zhen and Wang Zhen themselves. For second-generation rich kids like them who were used to living comfortably in the domain of the gods, it was probably impossible for them to lower their pride and live under someone else's roof. Grenade-throwing was a warm-hearted person, and would definitely be willing to help Wang Zhen and Lu Qingyi. But if Wang Zhen didn't accept it, then there was nothing he could do. Mother Wang turned to look at Wang Ling. Ling, they're both your classmates. How about you think of something? Lu Qingyi and Wang Zhen were instantly interested. Wang Zhen, I can be a lackey. Lu Qingyi, I can be a hired thug. I can even warm the bed. Mother Wang, miss, calm down. Wang Ling, although neither of them was willing to live under someone else's roof, if the other party was Wang Ling, they would be utterly convinced. It was a blessing to be able to work for a big shot. Maybe if he rewarded them with an enchanted crispy noodle snack packet, their careers would soar. In fact, Wang Ling really did think of a profession. There was no age limit or realm requirement for this profession. It didn't matter even if they were students. Furthermore, given Wang Zhen and Lu Qingyi's talent, it wouldn't be a problem for them to be competent in this profession. Thus, that night, Wang Zhen and Lu Qingyi received new arrangements. Dog 2 took Wang Zhen and Lu Qingyi downstairs to the family apartment building. Wei Ji was already waiting at the entrance. He was bare-chested and had a saltwater popsicle in his mouth. He was wearing baggy underpants as he stood downstairs with the pushing large butterfly perched on his shoulder. Seeing that loopy toad had arrived, Wei Ji immediately waved excitedly. "Brother dog. I've already told you the situation over the phone. I'll leave these two to you," Dog 2 said. Its job was done. Wang Zhen and Lu Qingyi greeted Wei Ji. Wei Ji said with a smile, "From now on, you'll work with me to take care of spirit beasts. You'll start as a junior pet trainer. Each of you will earn 6,000 yuan during the probation period, which is 3,000 yuan after deducting the rent. After that, your salary will also rise. A senior pet trainer can earn tens or even hundreds of thousands of yuan a month. If you work hard, you'll be able to support yourself. Then please advise us." Wang Zhen and Lu Qingyi gladly accepted. Relying on their own abilities to make a living wasn't like living under someone else's roof. Furthermore, Wang Ling had arranged this job for them, so they didn't feel so bad about it. Chapter 10:16. Wei Ji's job wasn't very complicated, and Wang Zhen and Lu Qingyi quickly got it done. It was just something like a pet shop. Previously, Wei Ji had thought of hiring some assistants to help him, but the experience of the assistants he found from the outside was uneven, and they wouldn't work for too long. Taming spirit beasts was a technical job, and as a pet trainer, Wei Ji naturally had his own unique techniques. In this day and age, there would be some short-distance workers who would come to help others. After secretly learning the methods, they would resign and disappear to start their own business. Wei Ji didn't want this group of people to take advantage of him. In the end, Wang Ling introduced two people, which delighted Wei Ji. Wang Zhen and Lu Qingyi were much more experienced than Wei Ji had imagined. They didn't need any special pointers from Wei Ji at all, and he could actually learn some new things from them. "You've raised spirit beasts before?" Wei Ji looked at Wang Zhen and Lu Qingyi, this pair of enemies, and was immediately very curious about their identities. "Sort of, but I've never raised such a small one." Wang Zhen's face was as calm as an ancient well. "Then what did you raise before?" Wei Ji asked. Lu Qingyi replied, "His family runs a fishery." "Fishery?" Wei Ji had an idea. What kind of large spirit beasts could be raised in the fishery? It was nothing more than spirit whales. The Pet Trainers Guild had a water king whale, but because of its huge size, it was kept in captivity in the West Sea, where the Pet Trainers Guild had a breeding base. Raising whales is indeed not easy. I didn't expect you to have experience raising whales by yourself. Wei Ji immediately felt relieved. Ordinary people couldn't raise a cetacean spirit beast. If they didn't raise it well, it would die, Wang Zhen sighed. When all was said and done, they were pet trainers from the world below. They simply didn't know anything about their origins. However, both Wang Zhen and Lu Qingyi believed that there had to be a reason why Wang Ling had arranged for them to work here. In this day and age, you could become a true venerated just by eating broccoli. Listening to Ling Zhenren's arrangement was the right thing to do. Although Wei Ji was from the lower realm, as long as they worked hard, they might be able to comprehend something new from Wei Ji. Thus, Wang Zhen didn't plan to hide anything from Wei Ji at all. He directly shook his head and said, "I'm not raising whales." Wei Ji felt that this question was beyond the syllabus. His face was full of doubt. "Not a whale?" "Wang Zhen, I raise Kuan." "Wei Ji?" On the same night that Wei Ji and Lu Qingyi were arranged to stay, the cultivation department store's transport vehicle drove over from the city center to the entrance of the Wang family's small villa, transporting a large batch of goods that Mother Wang had bought that day. "Madam, this is the detailed list of your goods. Please sign after checking. The delivery man stood at the door with a smile. For the cultivation department store, this was a rare big customer. The night delivery fee would be based on the total value of the goods. Although the commission was only a small percentage, if there was a huge order, it was a huge profit for the delivery person. The delivery order was randomly assigned by the system, and the delivery man felt extremely lucky. Mother Wang took stock of the goods, and after confirming that she hadn't missed anything, she tactfully gave the delivery a 5-star rating. The little brother bowed very politely. Cultivation department store worker number 193, delivery person, Qin Zong, thank you for your rating. I look forward to seeing you again, madam. Somehow, Wang Ling felt that this name sounded a little familiar. This time, Mother Wang had indeed bought a lot of things. All the cooking condiments at home had already been replaced with those for pregnant women. In addition, she had also bought a lot of baby clothes. Because she didn't know if the baby in her belly was a little brother or sister, she had chosen neutral styles, and it wouldn't be too strange for a boy or a girl to wear them. After putting the goods in a storage bag from the car, she took them out one by one in the living room and began to admire the spoils of her afternoon shopping. Startled by the noise downstairs, Father Wang wasn't even in the mood to type. When he went downstairs to take a look, he saw all kinds of things on the ground, which looked like stalls. His 1 month's worth of royalties was gone just like that. There's no need to buy so many things. Hands on his waist, Father Wang looked at the ground. Some of them might be impulsive purchases. I remember that the cultivation department store supports returns within 3 days of receipt. What return? These are all necessary things. Mother Wang rolled her eyes at Father Wang. That was our first time having a child, and we didn't have any experience. After I gave birth to Ling Ling, I've been reflecting on it. Why can't Ling Ling be like other ordinary children when he's born, but just have to be so gifted? Now I understand. Father Wang and Wang Ling? Mother Wang, it must be because we didn't do enough prenatal education at the time. Father Wang and Wang Ling, Mother Wang, sometimes, the all-round development of moral, intellectual, physical, aesthetic, and labor needs to be nurtured in the womb. When I was pregnant with Ling Ling, I always felt that we lacked communication, which led to Ling Ling's bad temper after he was born. If we could have helped him correct this earlier in the womb, even if it was just psychological counseling? Who knows, Ling Ling might have been born a normal child. Wang Ling, it had to be said that Mother Wang had really done a lot of preparation for the birth of her second child this time. This could already be seen from the prenatal education segment. Everything Mother Wang had done was to avoid giving birth to another ticking time bomb. Look at this. This is a magic treasure I specially bought from the baby section of the cultivation department store. Mother Wang picked up a handset from among the items on the ground. The price tag hadn't been removed yet, but the string of zeros made Father Wang suck in a cold breath. This handset alone already cost him a week's worth of royalties. What is this? A prenatal education handset? Mother Wang looked at the instruction manual, then connected one end of the handset to her belly. She then put on the headset on the other end and demonstrated. As long as you do this, you can hear the baby's voice in your belly. Honey, you've only been pregnant for a few days. This is just an embryo. What's wrong with an embryo? Embryos also have bioelectric waves. The most amazing thing about this handset is that it can simultaneously translate bioelectric waves. What we want to say will also be transformed into bioelectric waves by the headset and transmitted from the handset to the belly. This way, we can communicate. Mother Wang laughed. Why don't we give it a name first? Ling Ling, what do you think? Give it a name. Wang Ling cupped his chin and thought hard. Nguan. Wang Nguan. Wang Ling then opened his mouth. Chapter 1017. Wang Ling had never thought that one day he would actually name his own younger brother/sister. In fact, he had never thought that Father and Mother Wang would actually have a second child. Wang Ling couldn't completely see his future clearly. His world line was fuzzy, and he could only use his eyelids to warn him and some foresight abilities to avoid certain disasters. In fact, Wang Ling was still looking forward to having a real sibling. Whether it was a younger brother or sister in Mother Wang's belly, Wang Ling felt that as an older brother, he absolutely couldn't learn from Wang Ming and always think of ways to bully his younger brother and sister. They would probably get along very well. Would the little guy in his belly be a boy or a girl? Would he like to eat crispy noodle snacks like him? Or would he be born with extraordinary gifts? Wang Ling was looking forward to all of this. As for why he had chosen the name Wang Wan, Wang Ling felt that this was a reflection on his own character. Once a person's character was set in stone, it was very hard to change. He didn't like to talk, but that didn't mean he was autistic. In the past, he had refused noise and crowds. Now, after studying at number 60 high for half a year, he had gradually become accustomed to the playful sounds around him. In the past, he had been unwilling to meddle in other people's business, but now he was willing to intervene in maintaining world peace. Wang Ling realized that while the environment couldn't directly change a person's character, it could change a person's state of mind. He had never been so fortunate to have this group of friends by his side. His classmates at number 60 high and his fellows at the Office of Strategic Deception had all contributed a lot to changing his state of mind. Why was he called Wang Wan? This was Wang Ling's reflection on his own character, as well as his expectations for this unborn little guy. He hoped that it would be a cheerful child who could bring sunshine and warmth to people. At the very least, it wouldn't be like him, who kept everything bottled up inside. That's a good name. Father Wang agreed. Then, dear, what present did you prepare to celebrate the second child? Mother Wang smiled at Father Wang as she rubbed her belly. Of course. As she said this, Father Wang took out a big treasure strung with a round, hard substance from the storage space in his trouser pocket, and Mother Wang's expression instantly brightened. The smooth and mellow texture was full of nobility, and the moment it appeared, it made people fall into a trance. Mother Wang stared at this big treasure with a completely stunned expression, and her small mouth slightly opened to reveal her surprise without the slightest bit of concealment. This is my custom-made jade necklace. He had been blessed by a master. Do you know old Chen? Super Chen's dad? Yeah. When Super Chen was a child, he had a fever that wouldn't subside, so he found a master to treat him, and in the end, he was completely cured. The one who blessed this jade necklace was the same master. I believe this little fellow will definitely like it. As Father Wang said this, he picked up the voice transmitter that Mother Wang had bought and shook the jade pendant in his hand as he smiled. Are you a girl or Gigi? Jade necklace, do you like it? As soon as he finished speaking, the furniture in the Wang family's small villa began to shake. Then, Wang Ling saw a shock wave from Mother Wang's stomach, which shattered the jade necklace. When the wind blew, it was all gone. Father Wang, Mother Wang, and Wang Ling, the three of them vaguely felt that they had seen this scene somewhere before. What Wang Ling hadn't expected was that news of Mother Wang's second pregnancy would spread so quickly. On September 15th, the 33rd morning after the summer break officially began, Wang Ling received a message from Audiobook. Audiobook didn't use voice transmission, but asked very cautiously, Shifu. I heard that you're going to have a younger brother or sister. Wang Ling was blank at this news. At best, only the people in the Sea village knew about Mother Wang's second pregnancy. Even if Wang Zhen and Lu Qingyi had found out yesterday, they probably hadn't told anyone else. For one thing, they were busy with work and didn't have the leisure to poke their noses into other people's business. For another, neither of them could be considered blabbermouths. Thus, Wang Ling sent 3 question marks. As a disciple, Audiobook directly understood the essence of the question marks. Based on his understanding of Wang Ling, if this was fake, Wang Ling would definitely answer with a no, as sparingly as gold. Now that he had sent 3 question marks, it was very clear that he was asking, how did you know? To be honest, it was really a coincidence that Audiobook knew about this. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal had planned to reward the staff of the Office of Strategic Deception by buying 2 boxes of fruit for each of them because they had helped solve the Palace of Mirrors problem a while back, the Sea Village's oranges were famous. Audiobook was in charge of ordering them. In the end, when he drove to the village, he saw the villagers talking enthusiastically about Mother Wang's pregnancy. Old Man Wang had become the center of attention as he was surrounded by a group of villagers who chattered non-stop. Then, Audiobook, who was buying the fruit, found out about this. At that time, Audiobook couldn't have been more shocked. For him, his Shifu Wang Ling was already powerful enough. He really couldn't imagine what kind of god Mother Wang's second child would be. If the siblings were to fight in the future, wouldn't it be like the twilight of the gods? On this side, Wang Ling was also silent after listening to Audiobook's explanation. Mother Wang was actually quite low-key about her second pregnancy. There were no neighbors near the Wang family's small villa, and no one would care about her second pregnancy. The only place that knew about Mother Wang's second pregnancy, and the news had spread like wildfire, was the Sea Village. In the end, Wang Ling hadn't expected Audiobook to accidentally hear about it in this way. Given Mother Wang's wishes, Wang Ling had ordered Audiobook not to make it public. As a disciple, Audiobook naturally obeyed. It was just that Wang Ling had never expected the news of Mother Wang's second pregnancy to eventually reach the ears of everyone in the Office of Strategic Deception. That afternoon, Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal held an emergency meeting to celebrate the birth of the second child, and everyone was busy giving presents. Audiobook cried. This really had nothing to do with him, and his desire to survive compelled him to hurriedly text Wang Ling to explain the whole story. Shifu, I really can't be blamed for this. After sending the message, Audiobook immediately sent several pictures. Wang Ling saw that they were packaging for Sea Village oranges. Wang Ling remembered what had been written on the packaging before: fresh oranges are more delicious. Now it read, "Congratulations, Uncle Wang, for having a second grandchild." Chapter 10:18. Although Wang Wan was still an embryo that hadn't fully developed yet, judging from the shock wave from her belly, Wang Ling already knew that this child was destined to be extraordinary. Father and Mother Wang were a little frightened by this discovery. This scene was a little too similar to when Wang Ling had snapped that magic sword in half. A couple at the body refinement stage had given birth to two fiends in succession. Father and Mother Wang felt that if this matter was exposed, it wouldn't be their two children who would be dragged into science, but themselves. Because of the miraculous packaging operation of the Sea Village, basically everyone who knew Mother Wang's second child knew about it. The Wang family's small villa hadn't stopped receiving express deliveries in the last 2 days. The express deliveries were all from Mother Wang and Wang Wan. Mother Wang had always been popular. Although it wasn't convenient for her to meet up with her friends in the suburbs, distance couldn't stop a true friend's sincere blessings. As long as they were true friends, they would send you their blessings even if they were thousands of miles away. Fair-weather friends couldn't compare. I didn't expect everyone to be so polite. Mother Wang stared at the express deliveries, feeling both warm and depressed. If she had known earlier, she wouldn't have gone to the cultivation department store to buy things. Her friends were all very thoughtful, and she didn't know if they had discussed it beforehand, but none of their gifts were the same. There were all kinds of magic treasures for prenatal education, baby products, supplements for pregnant women. The most exaggerated thing was that someone had directly given her a membership card for a cram school. The card had money in it, and on it was written a wise saying that Wang Ling had heard in all kinds of educational advertisements since he was a child: don't let your child lose at the starting line. This saying might make sense, but for the children of the Wang family, it might just be bullshit. After all, they were born at the finishing line. At noon on September 16th, Wang Ling received a long-awaited group chat from number 60 High's Grade 1, Class 3 squad. Wang Ling had always felt that basically no one would visit a class group unless they had something to do. After graduation, if they really had something to do, they would choose to talk to a certain classmate in private, and most of the others would just show off in the group. Nowadays, there was really too much news of students turning into successful people after graduation and showing off in the group, thus incurring dissatisfaction. Most of the time, the innocence of the class group was still reflected in school. Like this moment, Super Chin first sent a few beautiful pictures of the scenery. It could be seen that his disappearance a while ago had something to do with traveling. There was a lot of time during the summer vacation, so it was understandable for him to go out and broaden his horizons. The world of cultivation was just too big. It was far from enough just to go out and play during the high school holidays. However, it was still necessary to go out and have a look. 5% of the content of the college entrance examination was the expansion of extracurricular knowledge. Those college students who wanted to get into a famous school would never give up this 5%. Moreover, these extracurricular knowledge tests never had a fixed format. It was completely up to the teacher who came up with the questions to ask whatever came to mind. If one's knowledge in this area was completely blank, one's mentality would explode upon seeing the test questions. Look, isn't this scenery beautiful? Super Chin posted a few pictures in succession. The scenery here is also pretty good. Dopey Guo also posted several photos after Super Chin. Wang Ling was silent and didn't answer. As number 60 high school's most outstanding commissary in charge of studies in grade 1, class 3, he was able to straightaway see through these photos. Tell me, how much homework do you have left to do? Super Chen was so moved that he wanted to cry. Little Peanut, you know me best. It's like this, actually, it's not that much. Apart from math, physics, and chemistry, I haven't finished anything else. Wang Ling, Little Peanut, then why don't you just say that you haven't finished? Super Chen laughed. Isn't that a little more subtle? Master of Dopey followed up from behind. The world is so big, there's nothing wrong with wanting to see it. In any case, when it comes to homework, as long as we have bros and sisters around, there's always a way. Expanding extracurricular knowledge is also very important. Then why don't you borrow it from Lotus Sun? The corners of Little Peanut's mouth twitched as he sent a disgruntled message in the group. Classmate Lotus Sun, her problem-solving train of thought is too advanced. She probably hired some kind of tutor at home. If I copied her, Old Pan would be able to tell at a glance. Dopey Guo directly sent a voice message to the group. Super Chen and I have already discussed it. As long as you and Wang Ling lend us your homework to copy, this problem will be solved. First of all, your problem-solving train of thought doesn't go beyond the syllabus, it's all taught in class. Super Chen and I have deeply experienced this when we copied homework a few times before. Little Peanut and Wang Ling were stunned. This wily old fox had actually learned from copying. Dopey Guo, it's like this, for me, I'll copy 70 of yours, and the remaining 30 of Wang Ling's. Super Chen and I are the opposite. This way, Old Pan won't be able to tell. Little Peanut laughed. Do you really think Old Pan is stupid? Don't worry, we won't copy everything. There will definitely be a few mistakes on purpose. Of course, if it wasn't for the credits for homework, Super Chen and I probably wouldn't have put so much effort into doing homework. The teachers assigned so much homework for the summer, when they collect it at school, it will pile up as high as a mountain. School has just started, and they'll be busy with homework. They won't even have time to prepare for class, so how would they be in the mood to approve summer homework? Dopey Guo analyzed logically. Actually, the phenomenon he was talking about wasn't limited to high schools. Even in junior high, most teachers dealt with winter and summer homework in one of three ways. The first type was statistical. Simply put, the homework was collected first, and the parents of those who hadn't handed it in were counted. Those who hadn't handed it in would be called, and those who had handed it in would be divided into several groups to mark each other. The second type was death with a reprieve. Teachers of this type were more benevolent. They knew that many students procrastinated and often liked to catch up on homework only in the last few days of the summer break, so they deliberately set a later deadline for collecting homework so that the students could catch up on it. It didn't matter if they didn't do well, but finishing homework was a matter of attitude. So generally speaking, teachers of this type didn't care whether or not you finished your winter and summer homework. As long as you handed it in by the deadline, you would be released on the spot. Those who didn't hand it in would be directly sentenced to death. The third type was energy-saving and environmentally friendly. This type was more simple and crude, and mostly used intimidation. In fact, they didn't care at all whether or not the students had finished their holiday homework. Holidays were meant to be relaxing and happy. there was no need to be so competitive. Thus, after collecting the winter and summer homework, teachers of this type would directly use the notes erase spell to leave this batch of winter and summer homework for the next batch of juniors. They could be recycled and never wasted. Tianjin. Chapter 1019. Nowadays, there were actually quite a few people who could copy homework with confidence, experience, and righteousness. Dopey Gua and Super Chen were examples. Whether it was copying homework or lending it to someone else to copy, both were bad behavior. He never copied other people's work, because there was no need. Of course, Wang Ling wouldn't lend it to someone else if he wasn't familiar enough with them. The main reason why he lent it to Dopey Gua and Super Chen was that he didn't want to hurt their friendship. In addition, these two people really had the ability to learn, and they had never fallen behind in their grades. Copying homework was just to save trouble. If they weren't good at studying, he wouldn't lend them out, that would be harming them. Then let's make an appointment to meet at Ribok tomorrow. Super Chen sent a message in the group, and then sent the coordinates of a coffee shop. This was a chain of cafes located in the bustling area of the city center. At this time, there were still relatively few students in the cafes and those fast food restaurants. After all, the summer vacation was not really coming to an end. In the last few days of the summer vacation, you would have the chance to see McDonald's and KFC filled with students who came to do their homework. Wang Ling felt that this was one of the great wonders of the summer vacation. A group of middle school and high school students riding on spirit swords and using all kinds of magic weapons to openly copy and paste other people's workbooks in the fast food restaurant. Such a magnificent scene was really hard to imagine. September 17, 20 days before the end of the summer vacation. Wang Ling took Loopy Toad out to the cafe that Super Chen and Dopey Gua had designated. Ever since Loopy Toad and Wei Ji had gotten together, it liked to go to Wei Ji's place whenever it had something to do. Sometimes, Super Chen and the others would come over to ask for a photo of Loopy Toad, but Wang Ling wouldn't be able to take it for them right away. Back then, Loopy Toad's primordial spirit had merged with Teacher Pan's and turned into a dog, which had been directly born in Grade 1, Class 3. It could be said that Loopy Toad was the #1 class pet at the very beginning. More than half of the summer break had passed, and the students who cared about Loopy Toad, like Dopey Gua and Super Chen, still missed this plump and fleshy green-furred dog very much. He didn't choose to directly teleport over. The cafe was in a bustling area, and he might scare people if he appeared directly. It was a rare summer vacation, and he felt that he should slow down his pace of life. So in the end, Wang Ling and Loopy Toad chose to take a spirit bus to the cafe. Loopy Toad's open and above-board appearance on the bus attracted a lot of people's attention. Loopy Toad and Wei Ji had won the last Spirit Soul competition held by a high school, which had been on the news at the time. Thus, a lot of people felt that Loopy Toad looked a little familiar and wondered if it was that champion spirit dog from last time. But because Wang Ling's cold and aloof aura was too strong, for a moment, no one actually dared to speak, and most importantly, many people remembered that the pet trainer of that champion dog was Wei Ji. How come it had changed to such an aloof owner now? A little girl pointed at Loopy Toad. "Mummy. This dog is so green. Just like Dad." The woman hurriedly covered the little girl's mouth and glared at her fiercely. "What nonsense are you talking about?" "That's what Uncle Huang from next door said when he came to fight with Mom." As soon as he finished speaking, the entire bus fell into a dead silence. The awkward atmosphere lasted until the woman got out of the car. Wang Ling watched the girl's back through the window as she left. Although it was possible that it was just a child's babbling, this girl would probably get a beating when she got back today. Loopy Toad, on the other hand, was a little unhappy that someone was pointing at it and saying it was green. How many chapters had it been? What was so strange about a green-furred dog? Halfway there, Wang Ling felt his phone vibrate. It was a message from Super Chen in the group chat. "Are you out?" "I'm already on my way," Little Peanut replied. Wang Ling also replied. "Little Peanut, but then again, why did you specifically book a coffee shop in the city center?" "Don't worry, I was just about to say," Super Chen said. Of course good kids like you wouldn't know about this kind of place. I heard from the seniors from the previous cohort that every summer break in recent years, every school teacher would specially choose fast food restaurants and coffee shops close to their schools to specifically catch students copying homework. Now, the copying army has already formed a network. Do you know why homework and test papers are made of jade paper these days? If you take a picture of the homework made of jade paper with your phone and send it to someone remotely, it'll be especially blurry and you won't be able to distinguish it at all. The camera function can't identify the texture of the jade paper. This anti-copying function was only released in recent years, to prevent students from using remote devices to take pictures and copy homework. Hearing this, Wang Ling and Little Peanut were silent. To be honest, if it hadn't been for Super Chen, this wily old fox, bringing it up, they wouldn't have known about this at all. So, if you want to copy homework, you can only do it offline. As for why you can't do it at home, it's very simple. If a parent sees this, they'll definitely tip off the teacher. Now, the parent groups set up by the teachers in charge are like spy networks, it's really scary. And they even King supervise each other. Speaking up to this point, Super Chen couldn't help but feel bitter. For example, my dad, when Shenzi visited a friend's house, he reported a number 59 high school student in passing. That bro's teachers in charge rushed over overnight and cleared out all his homework. In short, when you come over later, just say my membership number, AC12391, and the front desk will bring you to a private room. Private room? The corners of Little Peanut's mouth twitched. Yes, this is a membership card that my chow, and I specially applied for to copy homework. It's to prevent the teachers from seeing us. Dopey Gua echoed in the group. Since last year, when teachers from all schools started catching students copying homework in fast food restaurants on a large scale, those coffee shops have practically developed plans for private rooms at the same time, and they'll give you a free copy at ease service when you apply for a private room. This service also allows you to hire someone to copy your homework, but there's an extra service charge. Not only can you drink all you want while copying homework, you can also send someone to tip off the teacher at the door. And most importantly, there's a mechanism on the tables in the private rooms. Once you activate the mechanism, it will automatically hide all the homework on the table and replace it with a board game. Even if the teachers really do storm into the private rooms, no one will know, Dopey Gua typed with a crafty smile. Wang Ling was astonished. Was there a need to go so far just to copy homework? And the reality proved that Super Chen and the others' preparations weren't without reason. Because when Wang Ling got off the bus, he saw a familiar and coquettish figure amidst the crowd on the food street where the cafe was located, like a leopard on the hunt, unhurriedly walking forward. Wang Ling was sure that he wasn't mistaken, this person was Teacher Pan. Chapter 10-20. Before the official start of the summer break, Number 60 High School's headmaster Chen Tianxiang had called a pre-holiday teachers' meeting. At the teachers' meeting, Headmaster Chen's expression was very grave. Teachers of Number 60 High School. I have unfortunate news for you. All the teachers' hearts trembled at these words. They had never heard Headmaster Chen speak so solemnly before. For a moment, the teachers whispered to each other, wondering what major event had happened to actually make Headmaster Chen, who had always been known for his steadiness, show such an absent-minded expression. Teachers should be well aware that after years of hard work, our Number 60 High School has the best chance of being promoted to a key city school this year. Headmaster Chen said slowly. Headmaster Chen said slowly, starting from this summer vacation, our infrastructure will be upgraded one after another, and our faculty will also be upgraded. After our school is upgraded to a key university in the city, teachers with more than 10 years of service will also receive subsidies directly from the general administration of 100 schools for key university teachers. After being promoted to a key city high school, as long as you continue to teach at Number 60 High School and have worked for 50 years, you will receive a house in a school district not far from Number 60 High School in Songhai City. If your children pass the interview, their tuition fees will be free. Also, after being promoted to a key city high school, the school will design a route for you to work and send a sword boat to pick you up. In addition, there will be a national team-building activity for all the teachers every year, as well as an international team-building activity. The team-building activity will help improve the cohesiveness of our teaching team, and at the same time, it will allow our teachers to relax and expand their knowledge in all aspects. When Headmaster Chen said this, Director Shi was suddenly a little puzzled. But isn't this all good news? Headmaster Chen nodded. It's good news. Now, I'm going to tell you the bad news. As a candidate high school for us to be promoted to a key city high school, one very important thing is to hand in the Jade Scroll of School History. The Jade Scroll of School History is made of jade paper, which records the earliest history of number 60 high school. It is also the only important material evidence that can prove number 60 high school's qualifications. It is engraved with the wordless seals of past headmasters. Headmaster Chen crossed his fingers and said in a low voice, "Back then, I took out number 60 high school history Jade Scroll of School History and put it on my desk. I had planned to sign my wordless seal before handing it over to the higher-ups for a qualification review. But unfortunately, the Jade Scroll of School History is missing." Missing? How did it disappear? The teachers were in an uproar. Logically speaking, a school's golden scroll of school history wasn't anything valuable. Even if someone wanted to steal it, they wouldn't set their eyes on it. Most importantly, many teachers knew that there were no words on the Jade Scroll of School History. Even the principal's signature was wordless. This was to maintain the cleanliness and beauty of the scroll. He needed to use the corresponding password magic to make the words appear on the scroll again. So, Principal, the scroll was stolen? This time, the teachers couldn't sit still. It was now time for each key city high school candidate to submit information for review, and the deadline for the qualification review was the last day of the summer break. If they couldn't find the Jade Scroll of School History before then, number 59 high school would most likely be promoted to a key city high school this year. As for number 60 high school, it would miss its best opportunity in 100 years. This matter was not only related to the students' studies, but it was also related to the teachers' welfare. In fact, a lot of teachers had already planned to resign in recent years, but because number 60 high school's promotion was imminent, they chose to stay and continue teaching. For such a huge storm to appear at this critical juncture, it caused the hearts of all the teachers to turn cold. "Silence, everyone." Headmaster Chen spoke indifferently. His voice wasn't very loud, but it carried the aura of a headmaster, and for the time being, he managed to stabilize the situation. "I know that all of you are very anxious, but given the current situation, we can't be hasty. Now is the time to show the demeanor of our number 60 high school's teachers. The more critical the situation, the calmer we have to be in the face of danger. Only then can we demonstrate the demeanor of a key city cultivation high school's teachers." Headmaster Chen stood up and swept his gaze over the teachers. "There's actually still some time before we can submit the application for review. Our number 60 high school just happens to have 60 days to salvage everything. Based on the preliminary information I have so far, the possibility that the Jade Scroll of School History was stolen has already been ruled out." A few months before the summer break, the General Administration of 100 schools held a jade paper recycling event. Director Shi and I sorted out all the old exercise books and scrolls that were made of jade paper and sent them to my office. From the results of the current surveillance investigation, it is likely that the students who came to move the stuff at the time mixed up the Jade Scroll of School History with the other scrolls. Because the Jade Scroll of School History is like a wordless heavenly book without any words, it's not strange that it was treated as trash. Actually, our school is also partly responsible for this. Then where can we find the Jade Scroll of School History? A teacher asked the key question. Headmaster Chen already had an answer to this question. This was also the main reason why he had chosen to hold the teachers' meeting today. Headmaster Chen dropped his forehead into his hand. After the General Administration of 100 schools recycled the jade paper from all the schools, they used magic to purify and clean it up, and have already cut the jade paper into this year's summer break homework, all the teachers. So the good news is that our Jade Scroll of School History is still in Songhai City, but I'm afraid it has already been divided into several parts and scattered among this year's high school students' holiday homework. As long as we can find all the parts of the Jade Scroll of school history during the summer break, I'll be able to restore it with magic." Saying this, Headmaster Chen swept his gaze over the teachers around him with a beseeching expression on his face. "All the teachers present are the elites of our number 60 high school. All of you are engaged in teaching in various fields, and have made hard contributions to the cultivation of the flowers of the cultivation world. This year is our best chance in 600 years to become a key city high school. I implore all of you to find the parts of the Jade Scroll of school history during the summer break at all costs. Please, everyone." After saying that, Headmaster Chen stood at attention and bowed deeply to the teachers of number 60 high school in the audience, and so, a search for number 60 high school's exclusive Jade Scroll of school history completely unfolded during the summer break. That was because a lot of students would choose to travel during the break. In order to narrow down the search area, the teachers of number 60 high school focused their search on places like coffee shops and fast food restaurants in Songhai City. As long as there were students copying homework, they wouldn't hesitate to arrest them on the spot. Chapter 1021. No one would have thought that the most important Jade Scroll of school history would actually be reduced to jade paper pulp at such a critical moment and turned into summer vacation homework. Now that summer vacation homework had been distributed to every high school student in Songhai City, finding the Jade Scroll of school history that had been split up was like looking for a needle in a haystack. In response to this problem, Headmaster Chen had released a radar app in the teachers' group chat on the day of the search plan, which could pinpoint the approximate location of the Jade Scroll of school history. But because the scroll had been split up so many times, the sensing range had dropped significantly. It was only when the scroll was within a range of 50 meters that the app would sense it. This time, the role of leading the teachers in the search for the Jade Scroll of school history had undoubtedly fallen on Old Antique's shoulders. Old Antique had always had a good relationship with the children, and there was almost no generation gap between them. Even some of the jokes he mentioned in class were new, and it could be said that he was the teacher closest to the young people. Headmaster Chen and Director Shi both felt that only Old Antique could shoulder this heavy responsibility. It was very clear that Old Antique hadn't let them down, and that night, he had drawn up a detailed search plan. "Now, I've divided the teachers into several groups, and I've sent the forms to them. Teachers, please take a look. This has to do with our future welfare. I hope that everyone will pay attention to it during the summer vacation." Everyone looked at the forms, which were almost all divided into groups of 2 and had a very clear division of labor. Fast food restaurant group, coffee shop group, library group, magic treasure science and technology museum group, spirit sword club group, and the most insane of all, there was even an airport group. That was to say, even if a student made an appointment to go abroad to copy homework, the teachers could stop them on the spot. "We don't have enough manpower." Several teachers checked the division of labor on the forms. Even if the teachers of number 60 high were to be sent out together, the range they could cover was just one district at most. Songhai City had a full 22 districts, and there were tens of thousands of fast food restaurants, coffee shops, and so on chain stores, but their sensing range was only 50 meters. How long would it take for them to search? "Don't worry, teachers. Please trust in my instructions. Just follow my instructions and do what you're told to do." Old Antique smiled confidently. Of course, he knew that in a situation like this, they had to find outside help. Otherwise, it would be difficult for the teachers of number 60 high to complete this mission. As for who he was going to ask for help from, Audiobook absolutely couldn't know about this. Headmaster Chen had already clearly mentioned this when he had appointed Old Antique as the chief commander. Considering that Audiobook himself had graduated from number 60 high, he might have some subjective feelings toward number 60 high in the city's key high school rankings, so he had to avoid any independent activities related to number 60 high in the last few months. Now that the matter of the Jade Scroll of school history had been lost, Headmaster Chen was even less likely to let Audiobook know. On one hand, he didn't want to put Audiobook in a difficult position, and on the other hand, there were too many people in the general administration of 100 schools. If the matter of the Jade Scroll of school history being lost was exposed and the alliance of 10,000 schools heard about it, they wouldn't even qualify as candidates for key city schools. Therefore, they were not only looking for the jade scroll of school history. And he had to do it quietly. It's time for me to show my strength. On the rooftop of number 60 high school's campus, old Antique gazed at the gradually setting sun, and a thought arose in his mind. A few minutes later, two figures flashed in front of old Antique. They were none other than old Antique's two favorite disciples, Killer Taoist and Bandit Evil. Shifu. They knelt down on one knee and cupped their fists in salute. I've already told you the specifics of the situation. How many people can you gather this time? After Shadow Stream was wiped out last time and the master of Shadow Stream was captured, there were still a lot of killers who managed to escape. My junior brother and I tracked them down day and night, and we put them in their places and trained them again. Now, it's time to put them to the test. Including the brothers that Shifu has gathered from the underworld, regardless of their level, there are more than 2,000 people, Killer Taoist replied. Well done. That's enough. Old Antique nodded. The most important thing in this operation is secrecy. If you find the summer homework, just steal it, and it's best if the kids don't find out. If you run into a really difficult situation, you can choose to bide your time and let me know, and I'll immediately send a teacher nearby. Understood. The two nodded, then turned into black shadows and disappeared. Being promoted to a key city cultivation high school was number 60 High's biggest opportunity in 100 years, and no accidents could be allowed to happen. The truth was that what old Antique was concerned about wasn't the teacher's benefits, but that after being promoted to a key city high school, number 60 High would be able to set up an official campus snack shop. He would be able to sell snacks openly and wouldn't have to sneakily sell them to the kids out of a drawer anymore. Headmaster Chen had already promised him that if he could collect the jade scroll of school history during the summer break, he would have the right to operate the snack shop. Spicy strips. When the time came, he would have to stock up on a lot of spicy strips. Elsewhere, after the destruction of the Palace of Mirrors, the Black Shadow Army's plot seemed to have failed, but as Wang Ling had said, this was just the beginning. The secret about Shadow, which Immortal Shipai had revealed at the end, was the key to the entire matter. In the northern suburbs of Huaxiao Nation, there was a mysterious underground complex. This was an ancient tomb that had yet to be discovered because it was hidden very deeply and because of all kinds of restrictions. After President Bai and the others were resurrected, their stronghold was in this underground tomb that had never seen the light of day. President Bai's gaze was fixed on the flickering black shadow in the mirror. This was the Almighty who had resurrected him and Devil Gut Fungus Lord back then, and was now their mutual boss. What can I do for you? The person in the mirror spoke in an extremely young voice, like that of a teenager. Your Excellency, my son has already sensed the fluctuation of shadow after monitoring it day and night. Although it's very subtle, he can confirm that this is what Your Excellency is looking for, the fluctuation of shadow. Shadow hasn't truly been born yet. Just continue to monitor it. If the fluctuation hasn't reached its peak, there's no need to come to me. Also, remember, during this period, don't disturb the family in that villa. Before the time is right, I need them to stay alive. Yes. President Bai nodded. Also, there's one more thing I need to report to Your Excellency. Speak. We've got a new piece of information. Just now, all the killers on the world ranking list of killers suddenly received orders from the highest killer authority to gather together. I suspect it might have something to do with the fluctuation of shadow. I'm afraid they're also looking for the fluctuation of shadow. Handle this trivial matter as you see fit. Just remember my instructions. Yes. Chapter 1022. This time, regardless of seniority, there were more than 2,000 killers in the world of killers on a large-scale operation, which made President Bai feel strange. To be able to command 2,000 killers in action, the people behind the scenes had to be the two epic-level figures in the world of killers, Gorgeous Itinerant and Daoist Tao Tai. President Bai immediately thought of this pair of fellow disciples. Father, do you think these two are in command of this operation? But rumor has it that they've already fallen out with each other, Bai Yuquan murmured to himself. After rebuilding their foundation in the underground tomb, they had been secretly recruiting soldiers everywhere. Using Night Chief's old subordinates who had escaped earlier as well as the top experts hidden in the dark network as the foundation, they had set up a new Black Shadow army. Similarly, they had tried to hire some killers, but none of the killers on the ranking list paid any attention to their invitations. This was enough to prove that there was already someone behind these killers. At the very least, it proved that there was someone behind the scenes directing the killers' actions. Ever since a killer organization like Shadow Stream had been wiped out, President Bai and Bai Yuquan couldn't think of anyone else who could win over the hearts of the people and unite all the killers in a short period of time, apart from those two epic-level killers. They had to monitor the fluctuation of shadow, and they weren't the only ones who knew the secret of the fluctuation of shadow. According to President Bai's investigation, Immortal Shipai's death back then looked like torture on the surface, but the real reason was probably to cover up the secret of the fluctuation of shadow. Perhaps the cultivator governments of various countries were already secretly monitoring this matter. But how did this group of assassins know? President Bai felt a little uneasy. The task he had received was to ensure that no one conspired against the fluctuation of shadow before it reached its peak. Now that these killers were moving together on a large scale, President Bai really had no choice but to be on guard. Maybe I'm worrying too much, but since we agreed to Your Excellency's instructions, we can't make any mistakes. Sitting on a bench, President Bai tapped his fingernails on the table. Send someone over immediately. No matter what they're doing, we can't let them succeed. Yes, Father, said Bai Yuquan. A few minutes later. In the underground tomb, Bai Yuquan came up with a new command plan for the Black Shadow army. Black shadows overlapped in front of them, surging with the aura of many experts. This time, we have to stop these killers, but remember, we have to be secretive. Do not expose your identity. Therefore, everyone needs to take off the black shadow clothing that symbolizes our organization and change into the same clothes as those assassins to achieve the same effect. Should we move out as a group? Someone asked. No need. Bai Yuquan shook his head and pondered, we'll send as many as the other side sends. Each person stared at one of them. If they don't move, we won't move. All he had to do was stop them. During the operation, be careful not to accidentally injure them. Before the grand plan is implemented, please keep a low profile. If you encounter a situation that you can't handle, you can report to me. Yes, Leader Bai. As soon as Bai Yuquan finished speaking. In front of him, the layers of shadows that were as black as crows dissipated. Everything had happened so suddenly. The moment he saw Teacher Pan's back, his mind swiftly and automatically filled in the details of what had happened. This was the legendary brain enhancement technique. He didn't mean to pry into Teacher Pan's heart, he just wanted to know whether Teacher Pan's appearance here was a coincidence or a pre-planned operation. After Wang Ling's brain enhancement technique, it was very clear that it was the latter. Furthermore, it wasn't just Teacher Pan. Wang Ling's brain enhancement technique had also deduced Old Antique's plan for this operation. No wonder Wang Ling had noticed that there seemed to be a lot of cultivators hiding nearby when he had walked down the street. They had completely concealed themselves in dark corners where the sun couldn't reach them. This kind of professional habit undoubtedly allowed Wang Ling to figure out their identities. At first, Wang Ling didn't know what on earth these people were doing here, because they didn't have any killing intent on them. In a normal situation, no matter how well an assassin concealed their killing intent, given Wang Ling's cultivation, he would immediately be able to tell if they had any malicious intent. Now that he had filled in the blanks, Wang Ling suddenly understood. This bunch of assassins, it turned out that they were here to King steal homework. Old Antique had used his identity as an epic-level assassin to join forces with his junior brother Daoist Tao Tai to hire a total of 2,000 assassins to be spread out in all 22 districts of Songhai City. Such a large-scale operation was actually just for the sake of stealing homework. Wang Ling took a deep breath. For the first time, he felt a little suffocated. At that moment, Teacher Pan was in front of him. Wang Ling had his hands in his pockets and his head was slightly bowed. He and Teacher Pan were only a few body lengths apart. As long as Teacher Pan turned her back to him, she would immediately be able to see him. In the end, things had become troublesome. Wang Ling walked slowly and didn't act rashly. With the assassin's old antique had sent lying in ambush nearby, any suspicious move he made would be completely exposed in front of so many pairs of eyes. When he passed by a convenience store, Wang Ling turned around and entered it. He planned to wait for Teacher Pan to move forward a little more before quickly entering the coffee shop. But looking at the current situation, Teacher Pan didn't seem to have any intention of leaving for the time being. Thus, Wang Ling took a peaked cap out of his pocket and put it on his head. Wang Ling hadn't prepared this cap beforehand. It was a type of divine ability called the Great Creation Spell, which worked by materializing spirit energy and then simulating what one wanted to create. In theory, this was a spell that could even create food, but the food created wouldn't have any taste. At that moment, Wang Ling felt like he had turned into a spy. In order to make himself look more natural, he took an original flavor crispy noodle snack from the shelf, paid the bill, and sat down at the fast food table in the convenience store. But he hadn't sat down for long when he suddenly heard Little Peanut's voice. Wang Ling. He wasn't tall to begin with, and his head was wrapped up in a white cloth like a mummy's. He also wore sunglasses over his eyes. If it wasn't for the voice, Wang Ling almost wouldn't have recognized this person as Su Xiao. Ha ha ha, seeing that you didn't recognize me, I'm relieved. Little Peanut chuckled. Wang Ling. This was clearly even more suspicious. I arrived a little earlier than you, but unfortunately, I still couldn't get into that coffee shop. Then, he pointed at the door where Teacher Pan was. Like you, I hid from old Pan, Wang Ling. Chapter 1023. There was no doubt that as a pioneer teacher at number 60 high school, Teacher Pan was indeed a capable and powerful woman. Wang Ling had to admit that when he had first arrived at number 60 high school, he hadn't liked this teacher in charge of his. But after getting along with her for a while, he realized that Teacher Pan also had a side to her that no one knew about. If there was anything that had completely changed Wang Ling's opinion of her, it was what had happened between old Antique and his junior brother, Taoist Tao Tai, several months ago. Their quarrel had resulted in the Shuego sect incident, which had implicated a lot of innocent students. It was also during that incident that Teacher Pan had proved herself to everyone. She was an outstanding teacher in the cultivation world. There were times when old Pan was an inflexible person. For example, she attached great importance to her students' grades. Or for example, in this era of free love, she still used her inflexible attitude to reject students' puppy love. However, in this world, who could achieve perfection and turn themselves into a perfect person? It could only be said that as a teacher in charge, Teacher Pan had her own insistence on her teaching style. Even if she knew very well that this insistence might be considered inflexible in the eyes of some students. In the convenience store, Wang Ling looked out the window. He thought that even without the jade scroll of school history incident this time, given old Pan's personality, she would probably still come out to catch those students copying homework, right? Su Xiao sent Super Chin a location in the group. We're in the convenience store next to the cafe, but we can't get in. Then, he sent a second photo, which had been taken through the convenience store's window. Although it wasn't a clear shot, it still captured half of old Pan's back. In the cafe, Super Chin and Dopigua were stupefied when they saw the photo. Dopigua, F***K. Why is old Pan at the door at this time? It's not the end of the summer break yet, right? Little Peanut, could it be that they're catching people earlier this year? For a moment, Super Chin felt a little uncomfortable. In the past, the teachers would only start catching people when it was almost the end of the summer break. This year, the increase in time was a little too much. Super Chin, I don't think the teachers are so free. Do they have other tasks? But to be on the safe side, let's call it a day for today. Let's meet again another day. There's no other way. This is the only way. Dopigua nodded. Wang Ling couldn't help but sigh at how real it was that the two crafty old guys in class were so terrified in front of old Pan. But given the situation today, he really didn't have any other choice, so he could only leave with Loopy Toad. Wang Ling got up and reflexively looked at his feet, and then his whole body froze. Loopy Toad had actually disappeared. F***K, Wong Ling, did you bring Loopy Toad? At that moment, Little Peanut was terrified as he looked outside the convenience store. At the entrance of the convenience store, Teacher Pan was kneading Loopy Toad's fat and green body. Poor Loopy Toad was captured for a moment, and it waved its paw in the direction of the convenience store with a lifeless expression on its face. It had just left Wong Ling to relieve itself under the shade of a tree, and hadn't expected to be caught red-handed by Teacher Pan as soon as it returned to the convenience store. For Loopy Toad, this was a terrifying woman. It was mostly thanks to this woman that it had been able to turn into a dog back then. The heavenly Tao is such a reincarnation cycle. He hadn't expected to fall into Teacher Pan's hands again. At the same time, seeing Loopy Toad wave at the convenience store, Su Xiao instantly panicked. F***K, don't wave at me. Old Pan saw everything. Wong Ling, and so, what Wong Ling had been most worried about happened. Under Loopy Toad's direction, Teacher Pan successfully noticed the two figures in the convenience store. She walked in with Loopy Toad in her arms and pinched her gold-rimmed glasses. Why are classmate Su Xiao and classmate Wong Ling here? Despite her question, Teacher Pan didn't seem to think that Su Xiao and Wong Ling had been copying homework together. Su Xiao was the class commissary in charge of studies to begin with. He was a well-behaved kid, and was also the class representative for the Tao Talisman's class, so Old Pan had a very good impression of him at school. As for Wong Ling, Teacher Pan felt that although he didn't like to talk, his test scores were always low, and he was always in the middle of the class. It was rare for him to be an honest kid. At the very least, he hadn't caused any major trouble at school. Most importantly, Wong Ling's homework was written beautifully and neatly. Thus, although Teacher Pan didn't like him as much as Su Xiao did, she didn't dislike him that much either. What was more, Wong Ling was the class mascot. A commissary in charge of studies and a mascot suddenly appearing at the door naturally wouldn't arouse Teacher Pan's suspicions. Furthermore, Teacher Pan didn't see any other students nearby, which also eliminated the possibility of them borrowing someone else's homework to copy. Wong Ling, hearing Teacher Pan's thoughts, Wong Ling broke out in a cold sweat. When all was said and done, she was a pioneer teacher at number 60 high school, and her intuition was too accurate. Hello, Teacher Pan. Su Xiao hurriedly greeted her. It's like this, classmate Wong Ling is taking Loopy Toad to my place to play. I see. Teacher Pan nodded. This was a random excuse that Little Peanut had made up, but it sounded impeccable. The reason was that Su Xiao's place really wasn't far from here. It was entirely possible that Wong Ling had taken Loopy Toad to play with Su Xiao, and Teacher Pan was a little happy to hear this. Thus, she said, if it was anyone else, I think they're most likely here to copy homework, but Su Xiao, you'd never do something so foolish. Wong Ling and Su Xiao, then, Teacher Pan turned to look at Wong Ling and gave him a rare smile. I couldn't tell, but classmate Wong Ling is very motivated. Wong Ling? Teacher Pan, taking Loopy Toad to Su Xiao on such a hot day, it's probably to ask him about his studies, right? Su Xiao hurriedly nodded and reacted very quickly. Yes, yes, yes. Wong Ling, actually, Little Peanut wasn't good at lying, but after hanging out with Super Chen and Dopey Gua, these two wily old foxes, this classmate Little Peanut had completely turned into peanut oil. Teacher Pan, it's a good thing that you're motivated. Your grades have always been in the middle of the class, and I find it very strange that you can't improve no matter how hard you try. I've tested several sets of papers before, and you were able to score in the middle on the difficult ones and in the middle on the easy ones. Wong Ling, do you get stronger when you meet the strong and weaker when you meet the weak? Wong Ling, Loopy Toad, but as long as you have the heart, I believe your grades will definitely improve. Teacher Pan nodded earnestly, then stretched out a hand to stroke Wong Ling's head. It was at this moment that Teacher Pan's wristwatch suddenly vibrated. The jade scroll of school history's fragment had sensed the fluctuation. It was within 50 meters of them. Classmate Wong Ling, classmate Su Xiao, I have something urgent to do. We'll talk later. I'll be going first. Teacher Pan then directly summoned her spirit sword, stepped on it, and flew out of the convenience store with a whoosh. At that moment, not far from the convenience store, Lotus Sun, who had already disappeared from this book for a long time and might have even been forgotten by the author herself, and Feather Lin were walking out of a shopping mall hand in hand. Chapter 1024. What was the ideal state of being with a best friend? It should be a relationship like Feather Lin and Lotus Sun's, going to the bathroom hand in hand and shopping with bags of all sizes. This was the norm for an ideal best friend. Especially during the holidays, was there anything happier than going shopping together? Feather Lin and Lotus Sun walked arm in arm. Their trip to the mall today had really been fruitful. This Huagua Cultivation Mall was a large-scale chain mall owned by Huagua Water Curtain Group. Taking Lotus Sun with them to buy things would give them a discount based on their looks. Many of the shop assistants didn't know Lotus Sun's true identity, but when they saw this high school girl take out a diamond card from her storage bag, they were still startled. Huagua Water Curtain Group had distributed less than 100 of these diamond cards across the country, and they enjoyed the premium service of buy first, pay later. That was to say, you could directly take things away and pay later, up to a 50% discount. There were all kinds of payment methods, and the highest was 20 years worth of installments. It was even better than spending money. Mom doesn't have to worry about me chopping off my hands anymore. It's all thanks to Rongrong this time. I have a lot of clothes I want to buy. It's a small matter. You can slowly pay back the shopping expenses to the card. No problem. I won't drag it out for long. I'll matchmake 2 more couples next month, and then I'll get a commission again. Feather Lin's face was full of joy. Actually, Lotus Sun had heard about Feather Lin's business before. To put it bluntly, it was a cross-school matchmaker introducing people to date. Furthermore, Feather Lin's business scope was very wide. She could be found in almost all the high schools in Peiyuan district. Whatever style, type, gender you wanted, you just had to ask this Fujoshi Lin, and the most suitable match would immediately appear. In fact, Lotus Sun had always felt that Feather Lin was very amazing. She wasn't just a simple Fujoshi, but a technical otaku Fujoshi. Feather Lin had specially designed a dating app for this high school campus love matchmaking system. But no one would have thought that this dating app would actually be written by a high school student who was still at the foundation establishment stage. Feather Lin relied on the monthly revenue from this app not only to support her tuition and living expenses, but also to support her family. Xiao Yu was a pitiful girl from a single-parent family. Her parents divorced when she was very young, and she had to take care of her mother and brother. Feather Lin's mother had raised this pair of siblings. After years of toiling, she had finally fallen ill a few years ago. As for Feather Lin's brother, Lotus Sun remembered that her brother was a disabled person. Because of the unfortunate incident of being thrown from a high altitude when he was very young, he had been hit in the spine by a falling object on the street, and had lost all feeling in his lower body. Because she was too young at the time, recovery surgery was not possible, and because the best treatment time was delayed, the injury could not be reversed. Her brother's lower body had no possibility of recovery. Of course, if it had been Wang Ling who had encountered an object thrown from a high altitude at that time, the object falling from above would have bounced back and killed the person who had thrown it. Anyone who heard of such a family situation would be worried, but Feather Lin did not seem to care. She was a strong girl with a strong heart that even a man could not match. Feather Lin was worried that her mother would collapse from exhaustion again, so now there was an auntie helping to clean Feather Lin's house. Every day, she would push Brother Feather out to get some sun. I wonder when someone will take a fancy to my brother, Feather Lin said as the two girls walked out of the shopping mall. It wasn't easy to find a match for a disabled person. But as far as Lotus Sun knew, this Brother Feather's grades were excellent. Although he couldn't go to a cultivation school because of his lower body disability, his grades were among the best in ordinary schools, and he was a proper straight-A student. Seriously, Feather, do you want to try my family's pills? Maybe there's a chance that your brother can recover. Previously, when I earned some money, I asked my brother if he wanted to see a doctor again. He didn't agree. He's used to a wheelchair. Feather Lynn spread her hands and said, but it doesn't matter. I believe that as long as I don't give up, I can definitely find a boyfriend for my brother. Lotus Sun, boyfriend, Feather Lynn, in any case, he can't feel his lower body anymore. If I don't find him a boyfriend, do I have to find a girl? Lotus Sun now seemed to understand why it was so difficult for this brother Feather to find a partner. The two girls walked to the side of the road, where Huaguo Water Curtain Group's car was already parked. Not only did they buy things together today, but they also discussed the problem of summer homework. This was definitely not to copy homework. Instead, the two girls were discussing how to write the essay in the summer homework. Like everyone else, they also had to make an evaluation of the other students in the class after half a semester together. And the evaluation of Wang Ling stumped these two heroines at the same time. After discussing it, the two of them hit it off and decided to come out today to discuss it. Just as they were about to get into the car, a familiar figure glided toward them on a stream of light in the distance, so fast that for a moment, Lotus Sun and Feather Lynn were stupefied. Protect the king! Protect the king! The driver in charge of the car hurriedly shouted. The trunk of the black car popped open, and the space expansion technology commonly used in the cultivation world was used inside. The bodyguards accompanying Lotus Sun were all stuffed into the trunk. When they heard the order to protect them, a dozen or so burly men dressed in black poured out of the trunk and surrounded Lotus Sun and Feather Lynn in an instant. At that moment, the killers whom Old Antique had sent saw this scene from the shadows. What should we do? That person seems to be a teacher from number 60 high. Gorgeous Itinerant has ordered that anyone who snatches the homework will be personally taught the secret of being a killer. This is our only chance. This is our only chance. Charge. In any case, it's fine as long as we get the homework. Don't hurt anyone else by accident. On the other side, in another corner of the street, several young men in plain clothes also noticed this chaotic scene. What should we do? Those killers seem to be on the move. Captain Bai has ordered that no matter what they're doing, we have to stop them. Even if they're going for a birthday celebration, we can't let them get away with it. This is our only chance. Several members of the Shadow Army who were in charge of stalking the assassins took off their plain clothes and changed into night clothes. Then, someone shouted, "Charge!" as they swarmed in Lotus Sun's direction. Just like that, in the blink of an eye, three forces had emerged on the entire street. It was a complete mess. What's going on? Lotus Sun covered her small mouth, stunned by the scene in front of her. She saw countless black shadows flying toward them from all directions. Feather Lynn realized that Lotus Sun seemed to have a natural ability to attract killers. Chapter 1025. After the incident with the Shadow Stream killers, Lotus Sun's personal safety had always been on high alert. Retrieving the Jade Scroll of school history was certainly very important, but given the sudden change in the current situation, as number 60 High's pioneer teacher and the teacher in charge of Grade 1, Class 3, Teacher Pan couldn't just sit by and do nothing. The safety of the students was always the top priority. Even so, Teacher Pan was still taken aback by the scale of the number of people. There were actually over 100 killers lurking on this commercial street? Actually, there weren't over 100, because the Black Shadow Army and the killers wore very similar clothes, and Teacher Pan had completely confused the two forces. Coupled with the bodyguards sent by Huaguo Water Curtain Group, there were now three forces on this commercial street. In a situation where the enemy was outnumbered, fleeing was always the best strategy. Teacher Pan knew that the killers had definitely come prepared for this assassination. But if they wanted to touch her students, they had to do it over her body. Otherwise, don't even think about it. First published on the new August Chinese network, everyone. Please protect my two students and evacuate safely. Teacher Pan straightened her spirit sword and stood alone in front of the group of bodyguards, her words directed at them. Although these bodyguards were at the Golden Core stage, they were professional bodyguards from security companies who in many cases advanced realms quickly. Their foundations weren't stable, and they had pitifully little actual combat experience. In the face of a crisis, they would only form an iron bucket formation around their employer in accordance with the crisis plan provided by the company. What was the scariest thing in a fight? Naturally, it was a trick. No matter how powerful a trick was, there would always be a time when it would be seen through. These people were professional assassins, and they had a deep understanding of breaking arrays and assassinations. What could a mere iron bucket array made of human bodies do to them? Fortunately, it seemed that the killers who had been sent to assassinate Lotus Sun this time were only competing in numbers. In a one-on-one fight, Teacher Pan felt that she still had a good chance of winning. But now that the other side had so many people, she had to change her strategy. Teacher Pan. The two girls were worried about her safety. Under the protection of the bodyguards, they slowly retreated along the wall along the street. Teacher Pan held her spirit sword, her elite gold-rimmed glasses reflecting the light. She swept her gaze over the 100-odd killers out of the corner of her eye, and couldn't help the cold sweat running down her cheeks. Fighting on the street was explicitly forbidden, but there was one exception, and that was legitimate defense. Everyone. As long as I'm here, don't even think about doing anything to my students. Right after she said that, Teacher Pan stuck the spirit sword into the ground. Teacher Pan had never shown her fighting ability in front of the students, and the spirit root in her body was very pure. It was an earth spirit root. Cultivators with earth spirit roots utilize the power of nature. If their spirit roots are developed properly, this faction can both attack and defend. Although it didn't have the same destructive power as the fire spirit root, it also couldn't be as impregnable as the gold spirit root. But it won in all aspects. Moreover, the greatest advantage of the earth spirit root was the ability to ignore the terrain. Even in the cultivation world, the cultivators were still stepping on the ground. What should we do? Whether it was the killers or the Black Shadow Army, their original intention was not to kill. One side was there to snatch the homework, and the other side was there to stop the killers. In theory, they were working for two different forces, and they were enemies with each other. But Teacher Pan's appearance had thrown the battle into disarray, and both of them were being treated as killers. Sword wall. With Teacher Pan's low cry, the spirit sword stuck in the ground started to tremble. There was a violent rumble on the street, and an earth wall dozens of meters high rose from the ground. Shaped like a treasure sword, the earth wall sprang out of the ground like bamboo shoots in spring. The lips of the killers and the Black Shadow Army twitched when they heard this. Cheap, bitch, why was this teacher of the people scolding people? Behind the earth wall, Teacher Pan was still on high alert. She didn't know how long she could resist this attack, but at the very least she could buy them some time. Someone on the side had already called the police, and the cultivation police were on their way. Once reinforcements arrived, this farce would come to an end. The leader of the killers in charge of this group knew that they didn't have much time left. Regardless of whether they succeeded or failed, they could only go all out. You guys jump over there and intercept them. If you can find a chance, go get the stuff, but if you can't, retreat. The rest of you, follow me to stall this teacher and these guys who have appeared out of nowhere. They had a clear division of labor, and they immediately split into two groups. Seeing the situation, the Black Shadow Army also hurriedly split into two groups. However, the killers who had stayed behind were unafraid of death, and wouldn't let them leave. First published on the new August Chinese network, Brother. Why do you have to do this? We have our own masters, and you should be able to sense that we're not here to take anyone's life, said one of the Black Shadow soldiers. The two forces looked at each other in dismay. Neither side was willing to give in to the other. The entire street was in a state of panic. The shops on the street closed their doors and refused to accept any customers. They did not want to get involved in the battle. In the distance, sirens could be heard. It was impossible for this kind of melee to go unnoticed by the police. Brother. The cultivation police have sent people over. It's a little inappropriate for us to confront each other in public like this, one of the killers replied to the Black Shadow Army. That's right, it's too inappropriate. The Black Shadow Army also agreed. They knew the gravity of the situation. Then how about we retreat first? We'll meet again another day. All right. Retreat first. Everyone retreat on the count of 3. As the two forces confronted each other, the leaders counted down from 3, and then the two groups disappeared from the street together into the shadows. As for the killers who had been sent to chase after Lotus Sun, they also chose to retreat when they heard the sirens. The auras of the two forces disappeared in an instant, leaving no trace behind. In the end, they're professional killers. Teacher Pan cancelled the earth sword wall she had created, and the sun shone down again, elongating her shadow. Wang Ling and Little Peanut watched this scene from a distance. Super Chen and Hero Guo also came out of the coffee shop. Both of them had always had a very rigid impression of Teacher Pan, but right now, everyone's hearts were surging with deep emotion. Teacher Pan. Lotus Sun and Feather Lin had never expected Teacher Pan to step forward bravely like a heroine at such a moment in the face of over 100 killers. They had never thought that Teacher Pan's figure would actually become so lofty on this day. No need to say more, this is what a teacher ought to do. Teacher Pan put away her spirit sword and pushed up her glasses. I am a teacher. Old Pan. In front of the coffee shop, Super Chen shouted excitedly, Old Pan. You're 2 meters 8 today. The smile on Teacher Pan's face faded. It could only be said that as a pioneer teacher at number 60 high school, Teacher Pan was in the end Teacher Pan. Even in the face of praise, her expression was still calm and composed. She raised her head to look at Super Chen and Dopey Gua at the coffee shop entrance. You're finally out. Super Chen and Dopey Gua. Teacher Pan, before I left the office, I heard you two in the coffee shop's private room making a ruckus about copying homework. Super Chen and Dopey Gua, Teacher Pan, give me your homework, I'm going to clean it up. Super Chen and Dopey Gua wanted to cry but had no tears. They never expected that not only would they not be able to copy the homework today, even the part they had written would be completely cleaned up. Tragic. Too tragic. Wang Ling, Little Peanut, Lotus Sun and Feather Lin observed a moment of silence. Chapter 1026. Not only had Super Chen and Dopey Gua's plan failed, their whereabouts had been exposed this time, and they would probably become Old Pan's main targets of surveillance in the days to come. After this incident, Wang Ling felt that rather than saying that Teacher Pan was inflexible, it would be better to say that she was a person of principle. The point of copying homework wasn't about the lack of knowledge, but that it was easy to develop a person's laziness. Once this laziness developed into a cancer of laziness, there would really be no cure. In the second half of grade 2, students in Foundation Establishment High School would start to practice a sea of questions, which was destined to be dull and tedious. If you copied someone else's homework because you were lazy, you would think that you had already learned it, and you wouldn't be able to improve your proficiency at all. Review the old to learn the new. Old Pan was now being so strict so that the children could do the college entrance examination smoothly. She didn't blame the children for not understanding her now. After the college entrance examination, all grudges would be over. So it wasn't as if Wang Ling hadn't gained anything on this trip. This trip had given him a better understanding of what kind of person his teacher-in-charge Old Pan was. Teacher Pan's title of Teaching Pioneer was a joke both inside and outside the school, because Odd Zhua had been her student back then. After Odd Zhua became famous after that battle, Teacher Pan's career had also skyrocketed, and she had been elected as a city-level gold medal teacher for several years in a row. This kind of selection naturally attracted criticism and disputes. Some people thought that Teacher Pan's teaching skills didn't live up to her reputation and she didn't deserve this title at all. But in the end, Teacher Pan had used her own actions to prove that she was indeed an outstanding teacher of the people. Apart from gaining a better understanding of Old Pan's character, Wang Ling had also gained something else. On the street this time, the people who had come to snatch homework seemed to be one group, but were in fact two different forces. After the Palace of Mirrors incident, the Black Shadow Army, which had disappeared, had been exposed again on such an occasion. Other people might not be so sure that the second force among the killers wasn't the Black Shadow Army, but this definitely couldn't escape Wang Ling's eyes. The other party had spent a long time setting up the Palace of Mirrors, but when it came to the point of failure, they didn't even put up a fight and withdrew their entire army. The purpose behind this was very clear. They wanted nothing more than to use the Palace of Mirrors to draw out something and plan an even bigger plot. This was a far more troublesome villain than before. If the Night Chief mission was rated S, then Wang Ling felt that this new Black Shadow soldier could be rated 3S for the time being. Are there two forces? That night, Wang Ling and grenade-throwing Senior Immortal had a chat via text message. The reappearance of the Black Shadow Army was great news because they still had no idea about the foundation of this force. Although no one knew what the purpose of this group of people was, it was always good to have more information. When it came to the Office of Strategic Deception's intelligence work, this job had to be handed over to the intelligence team. Currently, the team leader was Little Silver, but in fact, Little Silver's role was just to supervise the Lord and Lady of the castle. Before Mo Immortal Castle merged with the Office of Strategic Deception, it had once been the largest intelligence organization in Huashu Nation, and even enjoyed a great international reputation. Now that they had been recruited, not only had the Lords and Ladies' intelligence network not weakened, it had become even more substantial because of their funding. But this intelligence network wasn't exclusive to the Office of Strategic Deception, most of it was also synchronized with Huashu Alliance, and only some private commissions weren't made public. For example, the intelligence on the Black Shadow Army this time. Now that the other party had appeared in Songhai City, the key was to find out where their foundation was. Don't worry, Brother Ling, I'll take care of this matter. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal promised. At this stage, he could sense that this Black Shadow Army might be a formidable enemy that the Office of Strategic Deception would be hard to deal with in the future, so before the real battle started, it was crucial to first figure out this group. When it came to intelligence work, Wang Ling actually had a second task. But this was a private matter, so Wang Ling didn't elaborate on it with grenade-throwing Senior Immortal, and planned to wait until Little Silver arrived. This was actually about number 60 high school losing the Jade Scroll of school history. Teacher Pan had already found an excuse to take back Lotus Sun's homework, and in the process, Dog 2 had smelled the workbook. Workbooks that had been fused with the fragments of the Jade Scroll of school history were clearly different from other workbooks. Wang Ling felt that if Loopy Toad and Little Silver worked together to look for them, they should be able to find all the fragments very quickly. The monitoring equipment that Old Antique had developed under the leadership of the Academic Affairs Office only had a range of 50 meters, and it would be too risky to send killers all over Songhai City. But Loopy Toad and Little Silver were different. After Wang Ling's training, Loopy Toad's bloodline had almost reached the level of a quasi-holy beast, while Little Silver was a holy beast to begin with. Forget holy beasts, even quasi-holy beasts had an extremely high level of aura perception, and were even more accurate than some magic treasures and instruments. Wang Ling hadn't wanted to get involved in school matters at first. But this time, he decided to help out. Not for number 60 high school or Qinxiaozong, but for Old Pan. Little Silver had been holed up in grenade-throwing Senior Immortal's villa ever since the incident in Beast King's remains. Occasionally, he would go to the Office of Strategic Deception's internet cafe to test Cultivation Emulator with Bai Qiao. The first stage of Cultivation Emulator's trial run was very successful and received a lot of praise from the players. However, in order to give the players a better experience, the mental link function of the holographic cabin had to be more stable, so the time of the open beta was delayed. There were actually quite a number of big shots who had participated in the first trial run. For example, Beast King and Daoist Guang. Beast King had already been redeemed from his isolation and was no longer trapped in his game world, repeating the game plot endlessly. But because he had been trapped for so long, he had completely become a game shut-in. Furthermore, he had become addicted to watching live streams and had become a fan of Daoist Guang. As for Daoist Guang, his development was even more outstanding. The number of his believers could already circle the earth. But Daoist Guang still didn't seem to have any intention of reviving himself, because being a live streamer was really too happy. Little Silver, on the other hand, wasn't idle. After becoming addicted to Father Wang, he had started to make up some stories of his own, and liked to show them to grenade-throwing Senior Immortal. Sometimes, he would even read them out in front of grenade-throwing Senior Immortal for praise. Grenade throwing, grenade throwing. Look. What do you think of my writing? Master will definitely like it very much. These were the words that grenade-throwing Senior Immortal had heard Little Silver say in recent days. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal finally realized that no matter how good he was to Little Silver, his master was still number one in Little Silver's heart. To be honest, there were times when grenade-throwing Senior Immortal felt a little jealous. Little Silver was lying on the sofa a little dejectedly in the morning. He had been working hard for several days and nights in a row, and he was a little tired. Brother Silver, you have to control yourself. I can't help it, that's how working hard is. But don't worry about me. Little Silver waved his hand. After that, he unhurriedly got up from the sofa and struggled to change into his clothes. I'm going out, grenade throwing. I won't be back for dinner tonight, it's only 7 in the morning, where are you going so early? Grenade throwing Senior Immortal was blank. I just checked my inbox and saw Master's message. I have to hurry over, your aura is too weak, are you sure you're okay? It feels like I'm a little weak, this isn't like me. After saying that, Little Silver bit his finger and sucked in the holy beast blood that flowed out. Immediately, he recovered his vigor, his spirit glowing and brimming with energy. He ran to the door. I'm going out. Grenade throwing Senior Immortal. Chapter 1027. After such a long time, Little Silver was very excited to finally hear from Master again. Naturally, he had to be 100% alert to complete the task which Master had given him. Even cultivators who stayed up late for a long time would feel uncomfortable if they didn't meditate to regulate their breathing. Because of the heart of a holy beast, Little Silver wasn't too worried about suddenly dying. But there were still complications from staying up late, such as dark circles under the eyes, obesity due to a declining metabolism, listlessness, and so on. But these weren't illnesses for Little Silver. He just needed to drink a mouthful of his own blood and he would be full of energy again. If he took the earliest spirit bus, he should be able to get to Master's house before noon. Before this, Little Silver had tried many ways to get to the Wang family's small villa, but in the end he found that taking a spirit bus was the most convenient. He couldn't play with his phone on the way, and taking a taxi was too expensive. In contrast, Little Silver would rather spend the money he had spent on a taxi on takeout. It was different if he took a spirit bus. This kind of public transportation was more economical and he could play mobile games on the way. Actually, taking the subway was also very suitable, but the Wang family's small villa was too remote and the subway didn't go directly there. The most important thing was that Little Silver really didn't want to be arrested and sent to the police station again. He had realized a very serious problem. As long as he went out alone, he would definitely be arrested and sent to the cultivation police station for tea. For Little Silver, the lunchboxes in the police station already didn't have much of an effect on him. You're not online today? Little Silver had just turned on his phone when he got on the bus when he saw that Miss Bai Qiao had sent him a new message. The cultivation simulator test was about to enter the second stage, and she was going to ask Little Silver to come to the internet cafe to help test it out. Naturally, Little Silver's answer was Little Silver's refusal. No, Master is looking for me today. All right. Bai Qiao expressed her understanding. Then I'll go look for old Guang and your boss. The boss she was referring to was Beast King, which was a covert title everyone had come up with after some discussion. As long as Beast King was still around, there was still a chance that the Holy Beast race could recover. This required something, and even more so, for Beast King to pull himself together and take on the great responsibility of the race. However, he knew that it would not be easy to get the sacred Beast King to perk up. Now, the Holy Beast clan had been completely persecuted by the game. Of course, as the boss, Beast King had thought about abdicating his position and letting Little Silver take over as the new generation's Beast King, but Little Silver was now just an 8,000-year-old baby, and was far from the required age to inherit the throne. But Little Silver actually didn't care. He wasn't interested in the position of Holy Beast King. How comfortable were their days now? Learning from Master, staying at grenade-throwing senior immortal's place to play games, eating takeout, drinking fat otaku Coca-Cola, and playing games. How comfortable were these days? Little Silver opened tomorrow's Arkansas. He heard that today was Billy's 10th anniversary celebration, and the game company had also given all players 1 search warrant, 5 recruitment vouchers, and 20 intermediate battle records. Little Silver felt that this game had a conscience. Then he used the extra prizes to recruit people. Accompanied by cool animation effects, white light 1, green vote 5. Conscience my ass. Little Silver roared in his heart and stomped his feet in anger. Mummy, this brother isn't wearing shoes. A cute boy next to him pointed at Little Silver's pure white feet. The boy's mother had in fact also seen it, and her expression was a little awkward, but she still taught her child not to point at other people, as it was quite impolite. Little Silver knew that this habit of his wasn't very good, but as a pure-blooded holy beast, he didn't wear shoes in his beast form. And the most important thing was that his hooves were very hard. Now that he was in human form, although he was barefoot, the soles of his feet were extremely thick, and he didn't feel any pain at all when he stepped on the ground. On the contrary, wearing shoes gave Little Silver a strange feeling of being bound. Modern society was already very open. Not wearing shoes was a person's personal freedom, and no one could interfere. Besides, Little Silver didn't think there was anything wrong with his feet, since it didn't affect anyone else, it would be fine. Just as he was thinking this, an extremely strong stench suddenly wafted from the back seat of Little Silver's car. It was a white-collar worker in a black suit. Out of the corner of his eye, Little Silver noticed that for some reason, the soles of this white-collar little brother's feet had suddenly itched, and when no one was looking, he had secretly taken off one of his shoes and scratched the soles of his feet. Then, the stench wafted out. In the next second, everyone turned to look at Little Silver, who was the only one in the car who wasn't wearing shoes. After staring for several dozen seconds, the spirit bus driver uncle couldn't take it anymore. He turned his head to look for the culprit who was giving off the stench of his feet, and the first thing he saw was Little Silver. Little brother, please, can you put on your shoes? Otherwise, I'll have to ask you to get off the car. Little Silver felt very wronged. This isn't my smell, you're the only one in the whole car without shoes. Who else could it be? The shameless white-collar little brother echoed from the back seat of Little Silver. Everyone in the car was instantly stirred up. Get off. Hurry up and get off. It stinks. It really isn't my smell. Little Silver was furious. He absolutely couldn't get off in the middle of the road. There were no bus stops along the way, and if he got off in the middle of the road, he wouldn't be able to reach the Wong family's small villa before midnight. The driver uncle pinched his nose and had an extremely resentful look in his eyes. He wouldn't provoke this kind of unreasonable passenger, because if he did, and the other party got into a scuffle with him, all the passengers in the car would suffer. Seeing that Little Silver wasn't cooperating, the driver uncle pressed the alarm on the driver's seat without another word. Roughly 2 minutes later, the nearest cultivation police station directed nearby patrol officers to the scene. The police uncle stood on his flying sword and gave a professional smile. Sir, please come with us to the cultivation police station. We suspect that you have a biological weapon on you. Little Silver, Wang Ling called Little Silver over, intending to work with Loopy Toad to search for the whereabouts of the Black Shadow Army and help the teachers of number 60 High find the remaining fragments of the Jade Scroll of school history. In fact, the appearance of the Black Shadow Army on the streets naturally attracted the attention of the cultivation police station. The Black Shadow Army and a large number of killers had acted at the same time, but hadn't harmed a single person on the streets. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to call this a conspiracy. After the incident that day, Teacher Pan, Lotus Sun and Feather Lin were all taken to the cultivation police station for statements. After some detailed questioning, the 3 of them returned home. Officer Gao at the police station studied the statements until the next day. He felt that there was something fishy about this matter, and perhaps he should report it to the higher-ups. Just as he was about to make a call, a familiar figure flashed past his office at the door. Brother at the door, wait. Gao Mu felt that he had seen a familiar figure. The patrol officer in charge of escorting Little Silver came in. It's like this, we just found something on the spirit car, found my ass. Hurry up and let him go. This was the nth time that Officer Gao Tian had seen Little Silver enter the police station. Furthermore, every time Little Silver entered the police station, the result of the investigation was that it was a misunderstanding. Of course, this wasn't the most important thing. The most important thing was that the police station would lose a lot of bento boxes. The police officer in charge of patrolling was clearly puzzled. Seeing that it was Officer Gao in the office, Little Silver was delighted. Ahahaha. So it's Officer Gao. Why are you here at this branch? Weren't you from the Anning District Cultivation Police Station? I was promoted, congratulations. Since it's appreciated, does that mean that the police canteen in this district is bigger? Do you have any new bento boxes? Give me 20 of them, thank you. King want a foot after giving me an inch? The corners of Officer Gao's mouth twitched. No, you don't investigate the truth clearly every time, and arrest me because of a misunderstanding. I don't want compensation for mental damage, I just want to eat some food. Is that too much? Officer Gao, Tianjin. Chapter 1028. Since entering the era of national cultivation, the advent of order meant that the cultivation world was no longer a place where the strong were revered and strength ruled. In this era, cultivation level did not mean everything. If a powerful cultivator violated the morality of human relations and violated the rules and regulations, he would also be severely punished. Peace. This was the main theme for all cultivators on Earth to work together for development. But under this main theme, there were always some people who liked to take risks out of desperation and break the law. Thus, there was a need for the cultivation police to exist. In addition to specially assigned civilian policemen, the cultivation police also had a powerful cultivator patrol team under the banner of the cultivation police, the Immortal Arts Mobile Squad. This was the most basic profession in the cultivation police, and represented a large number of patrol officers. They flew on flying swords and dutifully patrolled a fixed area every day to protect the safety of the city, and the moment they received an alert, they could immediately dispatch personnel to check out the situation. Back then, Audiobook had actually also been a member of the Immortal Arts Mobile Squad. To enter the government department, most cultivators had to start with the Immortal Arts Mobile Squad. It was just that Audiobook had been luckier. He had just passed the cultivation police's assessment after graduating from university and received his Immortal Arts Mobile Squad intern certificate when the gate between worlds descended, and then, there was no then. At that time, Audiobook had become a hero of the times. As for Officer Gao Tian, he wasn't as lucky as Audiobook. But his luck had taken a turn for the better. Although Officer Gao had always felt that running into Mr. Little Silver was an ill-fated fate, in some sense, he had to admit that ever since he had met this Mr. Little Silver, his career seemed to have gone a lot smoother. It had taken him 5 years to be promoted from the Immortal Arts Mobile Squad to a second-class police officer in the police station. He didn't have to go out in public every day, and was instead responsible for handling reports from nearby residents. Then, it had taken him another 5 years to be promoted from a second-class police officer to a first-line police officer, and he was in charge of handling online public opinion in the main office. To put it bluntly, he was in charge of the operation of the official accounts on the major platforms of the local police station, as well as screening for eye-catching rumors from the media online. Occasionally, he would ask a female colleague to come forward and take a selfie to prove that the one running the official account was a beautiful policewoman, and not a rough man sitting in front of the computer every day with instant noodles in his hands. Of course, there were times when colleagues from other departments weren't free, and Gao Tian had to help out. He was in charge of interrogations. For example, during the interrogation of Little Silver. Officer Gao had taken the initiative to help out, which was how they had run into each other. As an outstanding first-class cultivator police officer, Officer Gao enjoyed the work day after day even though it looked very boring. A Class 1 police officer could be promoted online to a Class 1 superintendent with his own office. Gao Tian originally thought that he would need to spend another 5 or even 10 years to reach that step. In the end, he hadn't expected the leader to suddenly call him up one day after arresting Little Silver twice. When Officer Gao received the call, she was excited. The officer on the other end of the line told him that due to personnel changes, there happened to be an empty superintendent position in another district. After careful screening by the higher-ups, they found that he had the best merit points and overall performance, so he was promoted. Gao Tian didn't know if this had anything to do with Little Silver. However, there was indeed a saying, silver unicorns would bring luck to the people around them. This luck was like a Wi-Fi signal that spread out, allowing others to absorb this luck. Thus, after other people absorbed Little Silver's luck, Little Silver himself would become very unlucky. This was also the reason why Little Silver was sent to the police station every time he went out. Because there were too many people around him. They sucked away his luck. On the contrary, it wouldn't be a problem for him to stay at home and be a fat shut-in. In the end, Gao Tian used his meal card to order 20 portions of canteen lunchboxes for Little Silver. Little Silver was actually right. They had caught the wrong person, so they had to make it up to him. Besides, this brother Little Silver indeed didn't have foot odor after being verified. When they bought the lunchboxes, Gao Tian took Little Silver to a pond next to the police station to verify it. If it really was the kind of stinky feet that reeked to the heavens, the fish in the pond would definitely turn belly up. In the end, not only were there no dead fish, a few lotus flowers instantly bloomed in the pond, stunning all the police officers. If you're done eating, hurry up and leave. Gao Tian put a pile of lunchboxes in front of Little Silver in a bad mood, looking as if he had already lost to Little Silver. He knew that given Little Silver's appetite, a mere 20 portions might not even be enough. Little Silver didn't stand on ceremony. He went out without breakfast. It wouldn't be bad to have an appetizer before he rushed over to Master's house. The food at the police station had always been very good. Even if he had already eaten it, Little Silver still thought it was delicious, because these lunchboxes were free. Little Silver knew that it might be a little shameless to say this, but was there anything more delicious than free food? As Little Silver ate, he saw Gao Tian's frowning face. In fact, Gao Tian currently had 2 cases to deal with. One was the large-scale collision between killers and a mysterious force that had taken place in his jurisdiction yesterday. Just as he was about to report it to his superiors, Little Silver arrived. It was only at that moment that Officer Gao had just sent the report through an official internal email channel. But there was no hurry with the first matter. Since there wasn't any progress, he still had to wait for instructions from his superiors. What really gave Gao Tian a headache was actually the second case. This was a serial murder that had taken place in his jurisdiction. At the moment, the suspects had already spread to an entire apartment building, and everyone was suspected of committing the crime. But Officer Gao couldn't find any substantial evidence. The mastermind behind this serial murder was very cunning. He had laid out a meticulous and rational plan, and couldn't even use magic to erase any traces of the crime scene. This was enough to prove that the mastermind hadn't left behind any evidence when he had killed the first person, so he hadn't needed to use magic to clean up the crime scene at all. What kind of case is it? Little Silver took a bite of braised pork meatball and stared at Gao Tian. Gao Tian, Mr. Little Silver, this is an internal matter of our police station. I know, but even if it's an internal matter, it doesn't mean we can't ask for outside help. Little Silver said as he ate, don't look at me like this. I'm actually also a team leader of the Office of Strategic Deception. Maybe I can help you. The Office of Strategic Deception? Gao Tian was blank for a moment, and then stood up with a stunned expression on his face. He was sure he hadn't heard wrong. This was a super sect that had been set up in the shortest time possible in the cultivation world, and had also become the #1 light sect at the fastest speed. What Gao Tian hadn't expected even more was that Little Silver was actually one of them, and a cadre at that. Gao Tian thought about it carefully, and in the end, he thought of something that terrified him to the core. He remembered that Little Silver had been brought to the police station twice before, and the person who had come to help him with the bail procedures seemed to have been that chief of the Office of Strategic Deception, grenade-throwing senior immortal himself. Chapter 1029. Is this the place? In the end, Gao Tian took Little Silver to the scene of the apartment. Little Silver looked at the terrain and felt that it looked familiar. There was no mistaking it, he had been here before. Isn't there an apartment for family members nearby? I have a friend who lives there, Little Silver said. That's right. Gao Tian nodded. This was also one of the main reasons why the higher-ups had demanded that this serial murder case be solved and the murderer found as soon as possible. The people who lived in the family apartment were all retired senior cadres of Huaxiao Nation's political circle. Such a large murder case in their jurisdiction had greatly disrupted the lives of these retirees, as well as the stability of the surrounding area. In fact, the crime rate in Songhai City was still very low, and murders were even rarer. This was another important reason why the higher-ups attached so much importance to this case. There was a family apartment in this area. Everybody knew that the security management of the place where there was a family apartment must be excellent. However, knowing that there was a family apartment, the murderer still chose to take action in this area. It was obvious that he was extremely confident in his means of committing the crime. It could even be said that this was a judicial provocation that despised the laws and disciplines of the cultivation world. Little Silver and Gao Tian stood at the entrance of the apartment building, which had 6 floors in total and was called Divine Leisure Apartment. Take me in to have a look. Little Silver took out his phone to look at the time. Are you in a hurry? I have to go to East Huang Road before 12. So, we just need to solve the case before 11 o'clock. Gao Tian sucked in a breath. It was already 9 o'clock. Solve the case in 2 hours? Who did you think you were, Detective Conan? Even Conan needed 20 minutes. But now that things had come to this, Gao Tian felt that it was good to let Little Silver have a look. In any case, he was here to reinvestigate the crime scene. When he entered the residential building, Little Silver noticed that the security office had already set up a temporary police station downstairs. When several police officers saw Gao Tian, they stood at attention and saluted him. Captain Gao. Are you all registered? Everything is going according to plan, replied a police officer. Since there was no conclusive evidence, all the residents in the building were listed as suspects, and their movements were monitored. They had to register when they went out and when they came back until the suspect was found. On one hand, this measure was to find clues about the murderer, and on the other hand, it was in fact to protect the safety of the other residents. Since there was a police station downstairs, the murderer presumably wouldn't have the guts to commit another murder in the short term. Give me a police officer pass, said Gao Tian. The officer at the police station helped Little Silver register and then gave him a badge. Captain Gao, may I ask what this is? I've hired an outside expert from the Office of Strategic Deception. I'm asking him to help this time to see if there are any clues, replied. An expert from the Office of Strategic Deception. The policemen looked at each other in astonishment. Little Silver took the tag and put it around his neck, then started to sniff the ground. As Gao Tian had told him on the way here, 3 people had died in this apartment recently, and Little Silver could very clearly distinguish them by smell. The blood of the dead usually smelled of resentment. Ordinary cultivators wouldn't be able to tell, but as a holy beast, Little Silver could. Little Silver got up from the ground and clapped his hands. 3 people really died. I thought you were lying to me. That's why you were lying on the ground, I'm just smelling it to confirm the truth. 1 died on the 2nd, 3rd, and 5th floors, right? This was Gao Tian's first time seeing someone handling a case like this. But he had to admit that Little Silver was indeed very amazing. The murders had taken place on the 2nd, 3rd, and 5th floors, and he had been able to sniff out the scent from the first floor. This wasn't something an ordinary person could do. On the way here, he had only told Little Silver that a few people had died, but hadn't told him exactly where the floor was. "Follow me." Gao Tian nodded. He took Little Silver up the stairs and began to investigate each floor. The first victim was a golden core stage cultivator from room 202. He was a 440-year-old young man. His main occupation was an alchemist, so he basically never went out. When he died, he was only halfway through refining the elixir in his furnace, and the range hood was working normally. We immediately extracted the gas from the range hood, and detected a trace of dark night fragrance. Dark night fragrance? It's a banned drug sold on the dark network. Just a trace of it can cause hallucinations in people. Unfortunately, we couldn't find any traces of the murderer's intrusion, nor were we able to find any clues on this alchemist. His corpse had already been incinerated at the first instant. After committing the crime, the murderer threw it straight into the alchemy furnace. Gao Tian said, "We can only deduce from the bloodstains left after the fight between the alchemist and the murderer that this alchemist was the first victim." An acquaintance? Not likely. This alchemist usually lived alone, and he wasn't a local. Even his neighbors didn't know much about him. In other people's eyes, he was a very mysterious man. So the problem now is that you don't know how the murderer broke into the house, killed everyone, and didn't leave any clues, right? That's one of the suspicious points. Gao Tian said as he walked. After the murderer committed the first murder in room 202, it was 24 hours before he attacked the second person on the third floor. The person who died was Li Daofei, an online live streamer. Like the first alchemist, she usually didn't go out. Her main source of income was through live streaming, and she usually did some talent shows where she swallowed spirit swords. But what the murderer didn't expect was that Li Daofei was doing a live streaming at the time. She was killed as soon as she opened the door. Her fans heard a loud noise, and when they saw that Li Daofei hadn't come back, they decided to call the police. Then, the third victim was a coder. It was also 24 hours before the murderer chose to make his move. At that time, we had only done a preliminary investigation of the scene, and the murderer committed the third murder when the police had already arrived. This was a provocation to us. Are they all homebody occupations? Little Silver shivered, because he also liked to stay at home. He hadn't expected to see 3 homebodies killed just like that. Now he finally knew where the nickname, "Damn Homebody," came from. So what if they were homebodies? Who had they offended at home? Little Silver clenched his teeth as he thought about how to get rid of the murderer. At that moment, he suddenly raised his head and stared upstairs. The fourth one. What fourth one? It's on the 6th floor. I can smell the fourth victim, said Little Silver. You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.